Some shadows said this is drama, but it's important to remind everyone what the people who conspire to ruin your life look like and how pathetic they are. Stale tarot card was removed from his mod position for trying to scam LSF. Oh, dude, I know. I saw this. I saw this photo. I do want to talk about this later, especially with the coverage from the Moist Critical coverage as well. It's Friday. We're obviously gonna scale back on like hardcore news coverage, so we might get to it later. But it is pretty funny. Yeah, no, he is a Reddit mod, and you might have just suspected that from the way he looks. But yes, he is absolutely a Reddit mod. Did you see a clip in the mod chat where he said Reddit mods deserve to be respected? Yes. Only my Reddit mods and no other Reddit mods deserve to be respected. But yeah, this is the guy that has been the Destiny superfan that's been actively trying to ruin my life after taking control of LSF, Livestream Fails, the subreddit, and basically using it as a negative PR campaign for like the last couple of years at this point. And he actually got kicked off of his position by the actual Reddit, like people at Reddit had to forcibly remove him from ownership over LSF, not because he's been, doing mass harassment operations or anything like that, but because he got a little too big for his britches, he got a little too greedy, he got a little too money hungry, and decided to pull off a scam. What started his beef with you? Him? He was a fan of mine. He just hates me because Destiny hates me, and he's a super fan of Destiny. That's simple. But it doesn't matter. He's been able to successfully ruin the LSF subreddit, which was at a certain point in time a place where everyone would go to that was on Twitch that could like find out about what was going on Twitch. It was a place where people would post their clips. It was a place where people could like blow up and become famous content creators. And now it's not that. Okay, now, but it's probably not going to turn into that ever again. But there is some restructuring going on. But yeah, it's mostly just an anti-Hassan farm. And then sometimes when Destiny puts the crosshairs on Asmongold, it becomes like a Destiny Asmongold operation as well. So they go back and forth on there. But it's mostly just like run by, like I said, this guy who is a major Destiny fan. It was more wholesome and fun instead of just drama slop than it is now. Yeah, nowadays it's just to try and like get their least favorite content creator to like commit suicide. It hasn't been successful because, I'm the guy that they're going after for the most part for the past couple of years. But, that's basically what the subreddit has turned into, which is why it's so weak and so bad at pushing its message. They really keep trying to farm you, no success, and you, what? Do you end up with the next mayor of New York City? I know. I think it's dangerous and deadly for government officials to be telling people to disregard federal officers. Very dangerous. What are you talking about? At what point do you think it's appropriate for people to say, hey, some of these rules that these guys are designing are not actually legal at all, and you don't need to follow illegal orders just because someone is wearing a badge if they're completely outside of their, like, here, I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm a senator, okay? And I tell my constituents, hey, if a cop comes to your home and they don't have a warrant and they decide to break your door and they decide to, like, I don't know, physically or sexually assault your wife or your daughter or something, you can defend yourself. Do you think I'm actually creating chaos? Do you think I'm actually creating chaos? Do you think I'm actually telling someone that they're in the wrong? You do realize that in that situation, the law enforcement officer is the one that's actually violating the law. Your logic is not sound. Sexual assault is completely different than what's going on. First of all, ironically enough, I use sexual assault as an example specifically because it's not that different from what's going on. It has been going on. That's number one. There are numerous instances where ICE agents have actually sexually assaulted people in their custody. And not only that, but also it's not a very extreme example. If you think that that's extreme, then you probably should actually be on my side on this argument because it's something that has been happening and something that has happened already. So that's number one. And number two, the reason why I use that is because I want to test out what your boundaries are. You know what I mean? I want to see like if there is a point that you would say no to. And I'm glad that you and I agree that sexual assault is actually extreme. So you and I should probably be on the same side on this issue, considering that that is clearly something that you find to be a bridge too far, and ICE has been doing that. So maybe we should actually scale them back pretty significantly and maybe abolish it in its entirety. And not just because of sexual assault, but because the entire principle that it hinges on is also bullshit. I like that, though. I like that, we could find agreement quickly. There are ways to protest this scenario, and rational and harming federal officers and preaching that cause chaos is not the way. Yeah, I don't want chaos, which is why we're protesting ICE presence in these streets, because ICE is the one that's creating chaos. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk again. Okay? That's 2 in a row. All right. Let's blast off. Let's blast off and let's get started. There's a lot going on, okay? There is a lot going on in the world. Got to get to it and got to talk about it as always, okay? But yeah, this morning I woke up and I worked out. I do have, I don't know, I just don't sleep too well as of late. I don't know what it is. And we'll watch TAFs too. Yes, TAFs we'll watch as well. Don't worry. Oh, damn, that's a really good blast off meme. That's funny. I should have used that one. This one is funny. I haven't been sleeping too well, and I don't know what the reason for it is. I need to lock in. I need to lock in on my sleep. Okay. Lack of doing shit outside of streaming? What do you mean? I went to a fundraiser dinner last night and it was interesting. It's probably the 500 milligrams of caffeine and nicotine. Sure. It's probably more than 500 milligrams if we're being serious. And maybe it's the stress. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Okay. When I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. But in any case, we're blasting off. So let the people know that we're live. We're alive. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful time. We're going to get right into it. But before we do, here's a funny tweet of a TikTok. POV, you're breaking up with me, but Hasanabi just went live.
This is what's going to happen. Okay. I'm going to keep pursuing what I'm pursuing. And because I'm doing that, it's going to take up more and more of my time, and I'm not going to be able to spend as much time with you anymore. I don't think that we should be.
You need to cut back on those horse tranquilizers. What, ketamine? You think ketamine? I'm doing ketamine, and that's the reason why I don't have a good sleep schedule? You think I'm a lot cooler than I actually am, I'm realizing. Whenever people think that I'm like partying like crazy, whenever people think that I'm partying or doing, hard drugs or anything like that is always fun, because it's like basically you see almost every waking moment in front of almost every waking moment of my day I spend in front of the camera, and the times where I'm off the camera, I'm either sleeping or reading or watching anime or jerking off. I'm a fucking whole ass loser, dog. I do not have this incredible social life. I used to. I don't anymore. Oh yeah, this is what I was going to show you. I said, so Sharkzadeh says, China and Iran both were empires subject to a century of humiliation and diktat. Both revolted and destroyed their old societies. Both underwent a succession. Then China abandoned the ideology for pragmatism. Iran could never let go of ideology. Look at them and look at us. And I said, Iran needs Mao Zedong thought as a joke, but also kind of not as a joke, because there is something that's like a little bit wrong about this assessment, because China never actually abandoned ideology for pragmatism. China did change with time a little bit, but it never actually let go of it never let go of the ideology at all. As a matter of fact, ideology specifically highlighting Mao Zedong is seen as this plank that everyone can organize around. It's very interesting. And for people that say, oh, they're revisionist or whatever, that's not what I'm talking about. Of course they're revisionist, right? Of course they're revisionist. But he's using ideology as a stand-in for religion or the Islamic Republic, right? Like, but the difference here is that ironically enough, like the ideology around like Marxist Leninist Maoism or Mao Zedong thought is something that they still hold on to as an organizing principle. Like it is definitely government mandated. It is definitely party mandated. They use it as a mechanism of organizing for sure, 100%. And that's precisely the reason why Deng Xiaoping, which many see as this like great reformer, also on the other side was actively bringing people back. Like at times of turmoil, in times of panic in China, or any kind of instability that existed in China, post People's Republic of China, they've always gotten back to Mao Zedong. They use Mao Zedong as a way to maintain party discipline and ideological commitment, and seemingly society is very much on board with that. So yeah, all the stuff I'm thinking about quite a bit because I'm reading the Philip Short book that I have been recommending nonstop. But yeah, I said Iran needs Mao Zedong thought, and apparently Sharkzadeh was already on that. He was already on that wavelength a long time ago. I was thinking about socialism with Sufi characteristics in China circa the early 2000s. That's a crazy t-shirt to be wearing, but I guess not so crazy when you think about it. Did you see Ai Weiwei going back to China? Yes, actually, I was going to talk about that as well. This goes back into the bracket of another major China W, like a whopping, massive, ginormous Chinese prosperity W. Ai Weiwei, who is one of the most famous critics of China and the party specifically, it has gone back to China. It is literally, I think it was because of the Israel stuff. Because I've been following his stuff. I've been following his stuff for a while. He's an artist. He's a very famous artist, and he's also a very famous China critic, right? And he's Chinese. And he spent years and years in the West. Very influential, partially because he was, a Chinese dissident living in the West, famous artist. And what's really interesting is he was doing some work around Israel's genocide in Gaza. And I remember seeing his work around Israel's genocide in Gaza. And he got insanely punished for it. Like, he got censored. He got yelled at quite a bit in Europe. And I think that opened up his eyes to the reality that, all of these systems are authoritarian and you just have to look at results. There is an article about this. For those of you who don't know, here, I'll give you a little bit more about his background, but he's a Chinese contemporary artist and a documentarian. He's an activist. He grew up in the far northwest of China, where he lived under harsh conditions due to his father's exile. As an activist, he has been openly critical of the Chinese government and its stance on democracy and human rights. And what's really funny about it is he gave an interview to the Times, okay, to Janice Turner at the Times, and I read it. And let me tell you, his attitude shift is actually very interesting, because what he has experienced being a famous dissident of China in the West, and also the collapse of liberalism that has been coming for quite a while now, has caused him to realize that while, yes, both of these systems are authoritarian in different ways, what you must look at is the results, and that the West revolves around a lie. The freedom of speech in the West, or all of the bounties of liberal democracy, is basically a lie. And what still matters most is material conditions. Now, he doesn't use that terminology, but you can make that assessment off of what he's saying when he talks about the prosperity of China and how it's undemocratic, how China is an undemocratic system, but it's one that they will not change because they see the failures of liberalism in the West. The last time I met Ai Weiwei was in 2010 in his studio in the semi-rural outskirts of Beijing. The assistant who let me in wore a t-shirt bearing the artist's brain scan, showing 2 blood clots caused by a police beating in Sichuan. Outside of Ai's home, surveillance cameras monitored his movements and visitors. Inside, the atmosphere was embattled and electrifying. Phones were assumed tapped. Ai's blog had been taken down, yet he still tweeted defiant wind-ups of a merciless regime. Okay? Now, what's really interesting here that you must take notice is, like, this guy he is the guy that people say, oh, try that shit in China if you can. Well, he was doing it, right? Like, he is the guy who was literally doing it in China, right? Ai Weiwei was always had decent politics. He was never anti-China itself or trafficked in the crazy China will fall now or China basically Nazi stuff you hear from some. No, of course not. But like, he had reasonable critique about the mechanisms of repression in the Chinese state. Okay, he had reasonable critique, and then he experienced the West, and when he experienced the West, his reasonable critique became even more reasonable, where he realized something that I try to explain to people all the time that is very difficult for people to understand, which is that all governments are authoritarian at the end of the day, and that the neoliberal version of control, in my opinion, in my assessment, was far better than the direct authoritarianism, but partially because I grew up under the Western style of liberties and freedoms and fraternité, égalité, liberté, right? Like I have a very like Western attitude about this sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, the results are the results. Ai Weiwei was commissioned to reflect on Germany for Zeit magazine, but they seemingly didn't like his reflections and killed the article, and he shared them. So this was one of the major turning points for him, but I'm jumping ahead here. Let's continue, okay? Lately, his activism has taken on a new recklessness, I wrote then, as if goading the state to react, and a few months later it did. I was detained on trumped-up charges and interrogated for 81 days, then spent the next 4 years under effective house arrest. The man who meets me at his gated estate is in the Portuguese countryside, is 68 now, but seems calmer and healthier and has shed his Buddha-like bulk. You know when a tree is in autumn. Okay, there's got to be like, come on, man. Really? I mean, am I crazy? That's racist, right? That seems a little fucking racist. Like, that's crazy. Oh, this chubby Chinese man, he was Buddha-like in his bulk, and he has shed it. Ai Weiwei is literally a Western propaganda brainwashed Chinese lib, and he's not alone. China got loads of shit like him. He's nowhere near as bad as like the guys who have made an entire career off of just like routinely talking about how China is going to evaporate at a moment's notice. But yes, he has been a Chinese dissident, a very famous one, and an artist. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, is because like it's a very interesting perspective to like go from being a guy who was understandably critical of the state's repressive nature to turning around and being like, actually, I've seen both sides, and let me tell you, shit ain't fucking sweet here either. You know, when a tree is in autumn, when the leaves come down, he says, it looks slimmer. I moved here during lockdown, buying the holiday home of a wealthy lawyer, complete with a tennis court and pool he never uses. I am old now, he says. I need sunshine. Portugal provides it 300 days a year, unlike Berlin, where he lived for 5 years after leaving China and still has a studio, or Cambridge, where his 16-year-old son, Ailao, is at school. When we last met, a cargo of 100 million ceramic sunflower seeds was on its way through the South China Sea to fill Tate Modern's Turbine Hall, where it would make Ai Weiwei's global reputation. Now he is established as the world's foremost dissident artist, a creator of objects which provoke thought while being beautiful, playful, and exquisitely made. Today, he wants to show me his latest work, so we wend down a gravel track at a stately pace, accompanied by his Chinese assistants and two huge but gentle Alenteo mastiffs, whose names, he tells me, mean female dog and male dog, but are quite rude words in Chinese. We reach a brick structure as vast as an aircraft hangar, just finished except for the front door, which is en route from China, as is, I later discover, the one to the lavatory. The outside does not prepare you for the miraculous interior, marble floors, blah, 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 okay? All the stuff. He's setting the scene. I don't give a shit about the seasoning. I'm here to discuss a slim treatise called Ai Weiwei on Censorship. It describes his treatment by the Chinese government, which has erased all trace of him from the public sphere. This is one of the things that the Chinese government does, right? And sometimes for silly reasons. Like, I was listening to a Vox.com article about a Chinese pop star who actually had a very public breakup. And when he did this, he had this very public breakup, and they did not like it at all. That like this was a couple. They didn't like that. They didn't like what it showed. So they just like kind of censored his existence. This causes a lot of self-censorship from record labels and other social media companies as well when they're making these sorts of decisions on who to highlight or promote too. So yeah, there is that kind of like silliness, especially silliness from a Western framework where you're like, who cares, right? And it's just funny that like he's doing a reverse Yeonmi Park, basically. That's what it is, okay? And he was never as like insane as Yeonmi Park, obviously. I'm just saying that like he had understandable, reasonable criticisms of the Chinese mechanisms of control, which he was victim to in the silliness of it all in many respects. And now that he has like experienced the hypocrisy of the West, his attitude is changing. And that of his father, the romantic poet I King, a communist and a one-time friend of Mao who was nonetheless exiled as a rightist during the Cultural Revolution. Now I says China's censorship extends beyond its borders, the government pressuring art foundations and galleries to withdraw his work. He claims his Zodiac heads were removed from an exhibition in Mexico City at the request of the Chinese embassy there. A scale model of Iron Prison, part of an artwork entitled Sacred. So I am keen to ask how he thinks Britain and the West generally should address the growing influence of China. Is it a hostile state trying to wield power via assaults on academic freedom and endemic spying? Should we worry Sir Keir Starmer has relinquished the Chagos Islands to Beijing-friendly Mauritius and is likely to approve a Chinese mega embassy, passing over sensitive cables leading to the city of London? But I's not a politician. He's an artist known for mischief, and to my surprise, rallies to his homeland's defense. China is never a hostile power. This is not a Chinese dissident rallying to his homeland's defense. From the Western perspective, this seems as a reflexive defense, okay? Because it is baked into all of us that there is this inherent mistrust of the unknown. We have this Orientalist framework that we operate off of, and we oftentimes turn around and assume that our foreign adversaries are actually up to mischief all the time, right? That they're actually doing the same shit that we're doing all around the world. That's not the case. This is not a defense of China. This is just a defense of truth. China is never a hostile power is actually correct. There have been instances throughout, modern Chinese history where they have actually engaged in war or engaged in incursions. Vietnam is a great example of this, obviously, or have taken the wrong stance, oftentimes aligning with the United States of America's foreign policy, in many circumstances, even though I don't personally appreciate it. But ultimately, that's not how foreign policy operates in China at all. Okay? Not militarily. If you look at history, England has invaded China 3 times. He describes the First and Second Opium Wars over self-sufficient China's refusal to buy British goods, and then the 1900 Boxer Uprising, where 8 nations put down an anti-foreigner Chinese rebellion that brought down the Qing dynasty and opened up China to the West. Now, I argues the situation is reversed. The world has 2 problems. One is created by capitalism. The other is a new world order where the BRIC nations, like India or even Russia, think we're tired of being slaves. Everything you enjoy is from China. He waggles his iPhone. South China Sea. Guys, we can't be doing this, okay? We can't be doing this. If the standard for great powers is set by Russia, and more importantly, the United States of America, what China is doing is not even reaching that standard, okay? The most brutal or the most ruthless thing that China does in the South China Sea is to try to bully Filipino fishermen with its Coast Guard, okay? And the reason why they do that is because the Philippines is the only country in the region that refuses to abide by any sort of like dual security cooperative agreement. And so they just keep bullying them with water guns, okay, with water cannons. The standard is so silly in the way that we operate that we are here in the United States of America talking about bombing Venezuelan fishermen that are going off the coastline of Venezuela to Trinidad, and we consider that to be, just another day in American history and American foreign policy in our own backyard. And yet, we're murdering a bunch of fishermen. We've just arrested and deposed and kidnapped the leader of a sovereign nation. And meanwhile, we're going to sit here and act as though what China is doing in the South China Sea is remotely comparable to any of that. If this is how great powers operate, China is unimaginably restrained in comparison. That's simply what I'm saying. Okay? You work for the CCIA, the Chinese CIA? Is that what you think? Anyway, we're tired of being slaves. Everything you enjoy is from China. He waggles his iPhone. But if China makes 1 penny, the West will make $1. So you enjoyed 40 years of globalization, and the money China accumulated rises up like water. Their level is getting high, and the West is only realizing it too late. He chuckles. History is a roller coaster. Now you've passed your peak. Enjoy going down. In 200 years, you will go up again. Does he think Westerners are softer? Much, and getting weaker and weaker. We say in China, it's hard for 3 generations of a family to be wealthy because the third, they don't even know what money means. It's automatically in their accounts. So people become a designer. He laughs. China became strong because people work hard with no holidays, not just 8 hours, but 10, 12 hours. That's how they bring their children to your British schools, Cambridge and Oxford. The West, he says, cannot take tuition fees from China and then moan when it tries to restrict academic freedom or complain about Chinese spying because you've become the underdog. You cannot compete with China, so you blame it. I ask if he cares about Taiwan, if he cares Taiwan may soon be invaded. He replies it is territorially a part of China, adding, I don't think that Taiwan has that much freedom. It's just a little puppet of the Western establishment. Likewise, although he supports the release of Hong Kong protesters such as Jimmy Lai, he doesn't believe, as a British colony, it was ever a democracy. China, as I knows, is an autocratic surveillance state that imprisons without trial and has the world's highest execution rate. Yet in his book, he writes, at its core, censorship functions in fundamentally the same way under authoritarian regimes and in so-called free societies. Also, I don't really appreciate the way that they fucking present the execution rate. They rarely ever explain who's getting executed. When you hear about this kind of stuff, back in the day, they used to. Western media used to cover how people, like how, rich people, powerful people, and even party members and local officials that were collaborating when this like corrupt scheme would get executed, right? They would say, oh my God, this guy fucking poisoned. The Chinese state has executed another person who was found criminally liable for poisoning the baby formula or whatever. And they used to do that all the time. And they used to say, look how barbaric China is. And what they failed to realize is that a lot of people were listening to that and going, wait a minute, I don't have an issue with that at all. And if you notice, they stopped covering that kind of stuff in Western news. Have you noticed? Because it's not like China has stopped capital punishment for people that they find guilty of, crimes that they consider to be very important, no matter how powerful they might be. And it's interesting that the West no longer actually mentions that capital punishment is happening. And by the way, I am anti-capital punishment. Make no mistake. I'm anti-capital punishment across the board. But it is interesting to me that people in the West now no longer cover who's getting the capital punishment. Yet in his book, he writes, at its core, censorship functions in fundamentally the same way under authoritarian regimes and in so-called free societies. Does he really think censorship is no better in the West? It is not just in China, he says, where your iPhone is listening to you. The media in the West also has strong censorship. CNN or the BBC, it doesn't matter. In China, the power is state power. But here it can be huge companies, business, even cultural institutions. His book describes how a social media post in November 2023 resulted in the cancellation of his exhibitions in London, Paris, Berlin, and New York. What I doesn't say is that just a few weeks after Hamas killed 1,200 Israelis, he tweeted in Chinese, the sense of guilt around the persecution of the Jewish people has been at times transferred to offset the Arab world. And financially, culturally, and in terms of media influence, the Jewish community has had significant presence in the United States. Both of these things are objectively true. These positions are now, well, don't say yikes. Oh, you're memeing, right? What are we doing here? Let's be adults, okay? Don't get baited. Wasn't this just sensitivity about a recent atrocity? I says breezily that the situation developed absolutely with my prediction. And it's really funny because like this assessment, okay? This assessment is now very commonplace. This assessment is very commonplace, except if you are from not America or not the heart of the West, okay? This assessment is every unc and every aunt that is, that was born and raised in any other country but the European continent, Australia, or the United States of America. I promise you, I know we often feel as the world revolves around us because we live in the heart of empire. And in many respects, it does. Okay? But there are a lot more people that see the world with this lens, which I think is closer to a closer interpretation of the truth than what the average American believes. Okay? Wasn't this just sensitivity about a recent atrocity? I breezily says that the situation developed absolutely with my prediction. I just announced it a little earlier. He said I was right, but too early. Where once his Twitter feed rallied at the Chinese government, now on X, it is solely about Gaza. He sees the conflict as a modern test for the world to say who is defending human rights, who is defending freedom of speech. There is nobody. Only the powerless people maybe walk on the street to do little demonstrations, but they are often beaten by the state police. And that evens out the so-called free world and authoritarian state because they do the same thing. I don't really understand a lot of this, to be honest. Simply put, this is a person who experienced state censorship in China. He actually was punished for it fairly severely, okay? And for things that you would never even consider to be a serious enough slight, right? Just criticizing the government in general, criticizing censorship in and of itself. Those sorts of things you can't really do in China, okay? And as a very famous artist, he became a critic of China. He became a dissident of Chinese mechanisms of control, specifically about the Communist Party of China, the ways in which they were, stunting speech and artistic expression. This is a person who is consistent. That's what the problem is. And as a consistent person, he came to the West, as many others do, with assumptions that Westerners who wear a suit and tie and speak about how superior their culture is and how much they care about free speech, he came with those assumptions and then very quickly realized, especially when he had something in a moment of impact, when he actually had something that he wanted to be outspoken about, very quickly realized, oh shit, the Western notion of freedom of speech was simply also a lie. And it's no longer a hardened truth, but instead a malleable concept that unironically turns into a major problem if there's a moment of impact. Yeah, you can say things, you can call your president a pedophile in the United States of America, but God forbid you criticize ICE protests. God forbid you actually go out of your way to say maybe you shouldn't be able to fucking shoot random moms in the face, or God forbid you say something about Israel, right? You can't do that. You can't do that. That goes against the fundamentals of the First Amendment that we are supposed to abide by, that we're supposed to defend. You can do that while you lie? Really? That's interesting because someone that I know, Mahmoud Khalil, is currently being prosecuted once again after an appellate court decided to strike down his freedom for the crime of protesting against Israel's genocide. So that's really interesting that you have this notion, that you have this attitude. But on X, you can say everything? Okay, dude, you're a fucking idiot. All right. We're talking about government's chatter. We're not talking about like what you can say on X. Anyway, I balk at his false equivalence. It's not a false equivalence. But of course you think that because you're a writer at the Times. Are Western democracies, where he now happily makes art and money without surveillance or censorship, really no better than China? The project that caused the Chinese authorities to fracture a skull, necessitating life-saving brain injury, was his naming of the 5,000 children killed in poorly constructed schools during the Sichuan earthquake. Such a story would have been blown wide open by a free press. Yeah, and what would happen in the aftermath? What would happen in the aftermath? Because when things like that happen, the Chinese government cracks down on dissidents, okay? But then you know who else they crack down on? The people that actually participated in the shoddy construction. In America, you can say that these schools are actually built shoddily, okay? I mean, you can say we got lead poisoning happening in our schools, that our public schools are crippled, they're not being funded. But who gets punished? Now, this isn't whataboutism, because I am someone who appreciates that you can say those things. But the reality of the matter is, when you take yourself out of the equation, when you remove your own personal feelings from the equation, and you ask the question, at the end of the day, what matters more? the government actually stamping out those who are engaging in this level of corruption, but then also not allowing people to fucking have a say in the process, or the government that allows people to have a say in the process, but then does not do anything about the corrupt forces. Okay? And that's the problem. I think you can have both. I think you can have free speech and also do Chinese-style crackdowns on those who are actually corrupt. You don't have to choose between the two. I don't believe you have to choose between the two. That's what I want. I want both. But if you were to ask the average person, your biggest flaw, okay, well, it's a little, that is unironically, unimaginably hypocritical of me to fucking turn around and be like, listen, I don't care about free speech at all. Like, come on. That's a big part of the reason why I'm able to say what I'm saying. And I do think that there is at least like an attitude shift that I've been able to contribute to specifically around the issue of Israel and Palestine due to, I guess, the American laissez-faire attitude about free speech. Toxically charitable and Hasanabi, name a better duo. Remember, the new naming Twitter is giving consent to the power that the lone scum has on you, chatters? What? Okay. What about Julian Assange in your British custody? Almost 12 years hiding in the embassies, he says. Or Edward Snowden, still hiding in Russia. Many believe he's a Putin asset, I say. At this, I, unused to being challenged, gets exasperated. You're interviewing an artist, he says. Now you want to talk about politics? I'm interested in your opinion. I hope you can publish it. Again, immediately, this person is like, let me dunk on you. Edward Snowden is a Russian asset? Edward Snowden had to become a Russian asset, okay? For survival. The American government wanted to kill him. The American government openly fantasized about killing Julian Assange. Edward Snowden is an American patriot, okay? It is so silly and so strange that these people turn around and have the audacity to entertain the notion that America actually values free speech, and then the moment of contradiction arrives and they say, ha, excuse me, they're actually an enemy of the state. What do you think the Chinese state says about political dissidents? They use the same logic. It's not like the Chinese state, when they're cracking down on political dissidents, goes, these guys are actually very good people, and we want to prosecute them justifiably because we're evil. It's the same logic. This is the problem. These people don't understand it. When you automatically say, well, Edward Snowden is a Russian dissident. I mean, come on, he's a Russian asset, right? Like what do you think? What do you think is the reason why you're saying that? You're saying that because you're a regime defender. At least between these two places, China is more honest about its surveillance mechanism. China is more honest about what you can and can't do. In America, we're not so honest about it. And I think that's the whole point of what Ai Weiwei is saying here. He probably would have been able to say that if he, was a little bit more invested in like politics or fully fleshed it out, rather than just like having a consistent moral position on authoritarianism and censorship, and just like experiencing it personally, both in China, but then also in the West as well. I know this is unrelated to the issue at hand, but let's avoid calling Assange a Chad because he's a rapist. He was persecuted due to American lack of freedom of speech and brutality, yes, but he doesn't deserve our sympathy as an individual. First of all, he was not. That was not. No, that was a fake charge that you're leaning into, chatter, that the American government was like concocting. The charges were dropped. And not only that, but he was also tortured in the process. I'm pretty sure that, like, I mean, I might be mistaken, or you might be mistaken, but I'm fairly certain that was like the governments of the West trying to find anything they could to disparage Julian Assange. I mean, there are obviously things you can say about Julian Assange, like, oh, he was like very anti-Hillary Clinton, very anti-Democratic Party, and perhaps a little too silly about MAGA initially and what Trump represented initially. And I think that is true. A lot of those guys become cranks, but he very quickly realized that Trump is also a danger. And just the same like imperialist that the Democratic Party was representing and Hillary Clinton was representing. But yeah, no, he's I think he is one of those cases. He's one of those like very clear examples of just Western hypocrisy. They didn't like that he was revealing certain things, and that's it. He's not like Greenwald. No, I don't think. I don't think he's like Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald still maintains that position. Anyway, like all political exiles, I clearly has a complex relationship with his homeland. His childhood was spent at the edge of the Gobi Desert, an area known as Little Siberia, where his father was forcibly re-educated by being made to clean communal latrines. The family lived in a subterranean animal shelter without light, plagued by lice and rats. In his fascinating memoir, 1,000 Years of Joy and Sorrows, he recalls his father being paraded before a barracking crowd, wearing a dunce's hat, head bowed. Yet even then, I Ching never stopped loving his country, writing elegiac patriotic poems. After Mao's death, the party admitted he'd been wrongly accused. He and his work were rehabilitated. One of the, consequences of the Cultural Revolution that was certainly, not great, right? Reads like Aiden Ross. You think Aiden Ross knows how to read? That's crazy. 28 month subscriber to try to get a dunk on me. Literally just fantasizes about Aiden Ross being literate. That's funny though. Elegiac. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of L's in the Cultural Revolution. Let's be real. It's like a elegy? Okay. The key to his art, Little Acts of Mischief. His teenage years coincided with the easing of state control, a sense of broadening possibility. But at art school, he found his fellow students pretentious and privileged. He writes, I soon learned I did not fit in with the new post-Mao order any more than I had fitted in with the Maoist order that had shaped or deformed my childhood. So, one of the first Chinese permitted to study abroad, he left for New York with just $30. Too cussed to take his exams, he lost his scholarship and made money by cleaning houses or sketching street portraits. Not a good place to spend your youth, he says. You know, crazy. Although fascinated by Western art, especially Andy Warhol, in 12 years he barely sold a work. In 93, when his father was ailing, he returned to China, and seeing his country with fresh eyes, he found himself as an artist. Following 22 years until he went into exile were my best moment, even if I was being put through many trials. As Beijing became one gigantic building site, diggers exhumed ancient artifacts which, in a society that erased its own history, had no value. I bought mountains of jade, pottery, and ancient furniture, trying to figure out how it was made. The internet was in its infancy, and the Chinese authorities did not yet understand its subversive power. Ai's art was born of little acts of mischief, like painting the Coca-Cola logo on a 2,000-year-old urn, or photographing himself giving the finger at Tiananmen Square. They have weapons, they have military and police, he says, but the only thing they don't know how to deal with is humor. This is Low Kirk. One of the aspects, no offense, but I feel like you would be scared of popcorn reading, comrade. What do you mean? What's popcorn reading? What is happening? Guys, you know I read articles every single day on this broadcast, right? Reading aloud. I don't know what popcorn reading is. I didn't grow up here. Where you get called in class to read. I read to a stadium full of people every fucking day. What is going on? I don't want to hear this kind of attitude from monolinguists. They don't do popcorn reading in Turkey. I don't even know what that concept is. I don't really understand it. Is this because of Kai Cenat? Is that why? Like, because Kai started reading books and everyone is now being like hyper aware and hyper alert about how other people are reading? So now they're realizing that like there are certain words that like, of course, I don't know how to read as well. And I just have to sound it out, especially considering that English is my second language and that it's one of the worst sounded out languages out there. They're bullying you for mispronouncing photographing. Am I saying it wrong? Did I say photographing? Is that what happened? 2 decades. Popcorn reading is when I read a paragraph or so and then the teacher calls on another person in class to pick it up where I left off. All right, whatever. He's calling us stupid? Yes, I am. I am doing that literally in Turkish. Anyway, although untrained, he set up an architectural practice. Fake, designing calm, simple buildings in contrast to the bling towers replacing old Beijing. He was invited to help design what became the Bird's Nest Stadium for the 2008 Olympic Games, but his growing disgust with the government meant he never visited it. The Sichuan earthquake enraged him because the government refused to release or even collect the dead children's names, so he and volunteers went door to door to record them. He used children's backpacks to write in Chinese characters on the outside of the Haus der Kunst Museum in Munich, a mother's words. She lived happily in this world for 7 years. Ai's work often presents small, identical objects en masse. The backpack Sunflower Seeds' recent works, made with Lego, with curiously moving results. It is hard not to think of a nameless, indistinguishable Chinese workers, either under Mao or toiling in soulless iPhone factories now. We sit in I's Folly at a beautiful Chinese table where an assistant brings green tea. Above us is a camouflage net, but if you look carefully, the dark patches are images of cats. Playful, clever eye. He made it for an exhibition in Ukraine, which he has visited 3 times during the war. Yet he rarely puts his work on his studio walls. To him, the process of making art is what matters, not the end product. You know, you eat something, you digest, then later you go to the toilet. You just flush it away into a gallery. This process, he says, is how humans figure out meaning. Yet artificial intelligence can deliver a perfect end result in seconds. That kind of technology will collapse the learning process, the wondering who we are. If we know everything, we become nobody. Make these Americans read in Turkish, please. Actually, reading in Turkish is much easier to sound out sounds because it has a phonetic consistency, whereas English does not. So once you realize how certain sounds are supposed to be read, it's much easier to read in Turkish. You do need to learn how the letters sound, but unfortunately in English there is no such phonetic consistency, so it's very difficult to learn, especially if you forget how like certain words sound, or if you encounter a new word for the first time ever, you're gonna have issues. Yeah, Pacific Ocean. Every C is pronounced different. Thanks, English. And also, you get W's and V's mixed up nonstop. Okay, well, we don't have the W sound or the W letter in Turkish. In the Turkish alphabet, the W letter does not exist. And this is precisely the reason why that was something that I consistently fail at doing even to this day, although English is my second language, but it's basically like a native tongue for me. I still sometimes have a hard time saying or have to really lock in every time I say something like Volkswagen, virgin wedding. Like if there is a V and a W in the same, in the same sentence, it gets hard. Did I say it wrong? Volkswagen. No, I didn't say it wrong. Volkswagen. Amına koyayım, Amerika'ya ilk geldiğimde her third dediğimde third and Volkswagen. Volkswagen is how we say it in Turkish. Volkswagen. See? Much easier to say. Vos de geç. This process, yeah, it's like L and R's in Japanese. Yeah, the L sound. This process, he says, is how humans figure out meaning. Yet artificial intelligence can deliver a perfect end result in seconds. On my tombstone, it will say, I'm such a failure. Anyway, so he just... Lao says he doesn't want his father's money, which will be a substantial fortune. I ask I if he feels guilty. He's so rich. He makes me repeat the question while he films it. Then he says his son's whole life's work is worth less than one recently sold Klimt, or what a Silicon Valley magnate makes in a week. On my tombstone, it will say, I'm such a failure, he says. He doesn't care what will happen to his work after his death. I can give to an institution or I can burn it. I don't care about the money. But you never have an issue with P. That's not in Turkish either. No, the letter P does exist in Turkish. It doesn't exist. My last name is Piker. The letter P, of course, exists in Turkish. You're thinking of Arabic. Peki, Piker, porno, pamuk. You are fascist? Do you like Benito Mussolini? You are fascist. No, I am an anti-fascist. I'm the opposite of that. Professor, Pokemon. That's how you say Pokemon in Turkish. Pokemon. Is Turkish gendered? No. The Turkish language is gender neutral. It is not a gendered language at all. It's completely woke. It's completely gender neutral. Another reason why it's actually much easier to learn. But yeah, so the point is he got clapped on numerous occasions, and he's obviously primed. He's obviously much more primed to be aware of censorship in authoritarian or seemingly non-authoritarian governments. And therefore, when he experienced this pushback, you know what's really funny, by the way? Zay Squirrel says, Ai Weiwei actually has principles. He's not a pathetic puppet that can be paraded around in front of the New York Times. Yeah, because he's saying this. He was outspoken about Gaza, okay? Like if you ask Ai Weiwei his attitude about, like, I don't know, the Islamic Republic, I'm sure Zay Squirrel would have a very different attitude about how much of a fucking Western puppet Ai Weiwei actually is. Okay? You can't celebrate people's consistency and then also demonstrate inconsistency in certain instances. Let's move on. There are those of us who also try to maintain some semblance of consistency while being consistently anti-imperialist and get fucking yelled at quite a bit. Anyway, a society governed by regulations yet lacking individual moral judgment is more dangerous than one with none at all. A society that values obedience without questioning authority is destined to become corrupt. A society that admits to error but refuses to reflect on its origins possesses a mind as stubborn and dull as granite. Here, at a deserted street, people stop dutifully at a red light, not a car in sight. This, I once thought, is the mark of a highly evolved society. At the heart of bureaucracy lies a collective endorsement of power's legitimacy, and therefore individuals surrender their moral judgment, or perhaps never develop one. They abandon challenge. They relinquish dispute. When conversation becomes avoidance, when topics must not be mentioned, we are already living under the quiet logic of authoritarianism. When the majority believe they live in a free society, it is often a sight that society is not free. Freedom is not a gift. It must be wrestled from the hands of banality and the quiet complicity with power. This was after Ai Weiwei was commissioned to reflect on Germany for Zeit magazine, but they seemingly didn't like this reflection and killed the article. So he shared them nonetheless. When people sense that power is beyond challenge, they redirect their energy into trivial disputes, and those trivialities collectively are enough to erode a society's very foundations of justice. When public events of great consequence, such as the Nord Stream pipeline bombing, are met with silence from both government and media, the silence itself becomes more terrifying than an atomic bomb, than any atomic bomb. These are arguably pretty common views of foreigners in Germany. Zeit have managed to make it more interesting and make it the fact that it wasn't printed the most interesting thing about it. And then this person goes, the claim that the Nord Stream bombing was met with silence by the government and the media is just one of those examples that a lot that isn't standard gripes, but simple delusions detached from fact. They should have published it. It makes them look pretty bad and clueless, which James responds to with a very clear case of missing the point and proving him right about the Slavish loyalty. Have the German government treated the bombing of their infrastructure by a foreign state like an act of war? Once again, it is slavish. I know. Slavish. See, this is what I was saying about the inconsistent phonetics in the English language. Okay? SL. Also, isn't that where the word slave comes from, according to some people? That's what they say. Reread point 1. A society governed by regulations yet lacking individual moral judgment is more dangerous than one with none at all. What do you mean? So the point is that we have this we have our own version of self-censorship. As someone who experienced self-censorship from others in China for the brief time that I was there, and then also recognizes how self-censorship works in the West, this is one of those versions of it. The social stigma surrounding certain truths that you cannot say, certain things that you cannot address, okay, in this supposedly free society. When you come from that background, when you come from a country where, certain things are not allowed to be said and you will get punished by the government, even if you find them to be silly rules and restrictions, and then you come into the Western world and you realize that, sure, maybe you don't have that same level of serious repression, serious crackdowns when you say silly things, but you absolutely do experience a social stigma that creates an environment of self-censorship in order not to, offend, in order not to come across like you are not a part of the in-group. But then beyond that, the real censorship, state-enforced censorship that comes when you actually do say something of consequence at a time when the government is actively trying to stop you from saying it, you realize it's not so different than these more authoritarian countries at all, okay? Just as though in China, you can say whatever the fuck you want about whatever different thing you want to say, as long as you don't criticize Xi Jinping too much or, make jokes about him or make jokes about Mao Zedong, or numerous other, party officials or whatever. You can say whatever the fuck you want. You just can't say certain things. So it creates an environment of self-censorship. In the United States of America, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can call the president a pedophile, right? You can call the president a pedophile all day, every day. You might get fired. But the moment that you say something about Israel at a time when it's inopportune for the government, at a time when the government is not fond of you saying anything at all about Israel, Joe Biden will arrest 3,500 student protesters at peaceful college encampments. Okay? He did that. He did do that. That's how it goes. I'm not saying that the Chinese method here is better, for the record. I'm not saying that at all. I need you to understand. Okay? I'm simply bringing up the Western hypocrisy as one who is a major recipient of these attacks, especially as one who has been on the receiving end of an endless barrage of hatred for the last 2 years for maintaining a consistent anti-fascist and consistent anti-genocide principle and not shying away from saying what I truly mean and what I truly believe. I have been yelled at endlessly. And I still do get yelled at endlessly. Now, of course, that yelling did create an environment of censorship. That is precisely the reason why. That is precisely the reason why some of these people that otherwise would have been outspoken did not speak out about what they had seen. This is what I mean when I say there is an environment of social stigma associated with certain subjects. You think all of these people didn't realize that Israel was doing horrible things to Palestinians? Of course they did. But they saw what happened to people who spoke out. So they engaged in this self-censorship. They didn't want to speak about it until the crowd grew and you would no longer get punished in that crowd, because there is obviously power in numbers, right? Same goes for speaking out against ICE. Same goes for speaking out against reactionary politics in general. It happens in a much smaller version in places like Twitch, where if the only thing that you see, the loud proclamations that you hear over and over again come from the right, and anyone that actually says, hey, this seems a little strange, I don't really like it, maybe we shouldn't be, so homophobic or transphobic. Maybe we shouldn't be saying that immigrants are rapists that need to be purged from the boundaries of the state. And you get pummeled, you get punished. And you don't often even get directionally punished for that reason, for what you're saying. They just come after you and they find whatever they can, endlessly harassing you over and over again, creating this cycle where you are punished for speaking out against what these people want to design as the popular opinion. Same goes for Twitter. Okay? Same thing happened in Twitter. Same thing happened on Twitch. It's changing now, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. Woke 2.0. It's coming back, baby. It's coming back. But one of the things that I meant, one of the things that I talked about yesterday was this environment of censorship that invites self-censorship for others. If you have an opinion about Palestine, you think twice about saying something when one of the most outspoken critics of Israel is constantly getting called a terrorist. And not just even a terrorist, but constantly getting yelled at for a litany of different things as well. It doesn't just stay there, right? It moves into every other orifice. It moves into every other direction. And that system of self-censorship or direct government censorship is reinforced by people who openly stake their reputation on this, their power that they openly reveal, the power that they openly reveal they have, the partnerships that they engage with. Here is Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League talking about your boy, me, Hasanabi Piker, at a synagogue in Los Angeles.
The rising anti-Zionism on the left is by people on the left. So what I try to do at ADL, what we try to do, is to provide data, is to provide tools, is to step up, but often quietly behind the scenes. It doesn't help. I don't think it helps the Jewish people, and it doesn't disarm them when I go after Nick Fuentes or Hassan Piker, a revolting person. They should call him Hamas Piker. He's here in LA, and he's just a putrid, says horrible slanderous things about Jews, about Zionists, about Israel.
This man is an agent of a foreign nation state. Okay? Straight up. This man is an agent for the state of Israel. Okay? He might run a supposed civil rights organization in the United States of America as an American citizen, but his job is to defend the nation state of Israel. His job is to take out critics of the state of Israel. Not by killing them, of course. We haven't gotten that far, right? But by doing everything in their power, doing everything in his power, but doing everything in the state's power as well to tarnish, tar and feather, and deplatform critics of Israel. And it's not like he's hiding it. He's openly stating it. And here he is talking about how he's collaborating with members on the left to take out people on the left who are anti-Zionist, people like myself, people like many others. And what's interesting about that, like I said, is when he says he's working with the left to do so. Now, he might just mean Richie Torres, one of my other ops, who is, a Democrat in New York. Okay? He might mean just that. Or maybe he means other people too. Maybe he's talking about all of these other people that have spent the last 2 years not really saying anything about Gaza, but instead spending every waking moment talking about critics of Israel by bringing up irrelevant drama that they cultivate, manufacture. Something to consider for those who are not aware of how this kind of stuff works. Okay? If they cannot address your arguments, they will slander you. If they cannot address your points and deliver counterpoints, if they've lost the argument, the only thing they can do is first slander you, keep you preoccupied with a litany of different, sequences of drama, slander your reputation for the public so that people consider you to be a toxic person, right? And then if that doesn't work either, you just go for the deplatforming. And he's openly stating it.
Israel.
And has a big platform.
Yeah, so you might not know Hassan Piker, but if your kids are watching video games, you better believe they do. Because on Twitch and on Steam, he's everywhere, let alone on YouTube and Insta. So anyways, long story short, we definitely are working a lot to try to get the platforms to kind of enforce their own terms of service so that we can pull down the most offensive hate speech or get them to do it.
Yeah. I know a lot of people focus on the silly stuff here, but this is a serious fucking threat, right? If you care about free speech as an American, this is a serious threat. This is an agent of a foreign nation state working at the behest of a foreign nation state, undermining the American First Amendment. It's ridiculous. It's not like he's hiding it. I know. Calling you a gamer is the real slander. But the point I'm trying to make here is that these attempts are attempts that I've had to deal with for the last 2 years, almost 3 years now, right? And I say attempts because they haven't really been all that successful. But they still continue, okay? They still continue nonetheless. So you have to be a little bit more careful when you hear about someone that you otherwise agree with or you might find yourself in agreement with get fucking slandered up and down the timeline. There might be a different purpose for that. That's all I'm saying. You see what I mean? It's interesting because Ben Rhodes is one of these guys. Ben Rhodes played a role in writing out the design for JCPOA, the Iran denuclearization agreement, under the Obama administration, and he was public enemy number one. He was attacked ruthlessly by the exact same fake newspapers that I get criticized by, that I get attacked by, that I get slandered by the exact same institutions. And the reason for that was because Obama dared to do something that Israel didn't want the American government to do. He engaged in talks with Iran and successfully got Iran to commit to denuclearization in exchange for sanctions relief and normalizing relations with Iran. Israel didn't like that at all. Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States of America and delivered a speech to Congress where he got standing ovations once again. A sight that we've already seen time and time again, a sight that we've seen under the Biden administration and under the Trump administration as well. He was able to do that because Israel gets to do that. Israel gets to do that every single fucking day. Okay? If America has a different design for what they want to do in the region, Israel can just come and punish you. Israel can come and punish the people that played a role in this design and do everything in their power. What is this? Wow, why can I come in here at any given time and Asman has 10K plus more views? The world is healing. Instant deletes now, huh? Must be a rough time in here. 10K plus views at any given time. Crazy. Damn, dude, how does Asman have so much more viewers than you at any given point? I mean, it's like 20K by now. I like that you even noticed that the number of viewership increase, regardless of the botting, right? Regardless of the view bots, has actually diminished, has decreased, and yet you still do not understand that the attitude is changing, that the times are changing, my friend. I unbanned you, by the way. Live tune in on Candace. Fuck yeah, she had 200K last stream. Might get me of that. Watch Candace. She got 200K viewers right now. You keeping up with Candace? Thoughts on Alberta's referendum from Canada? Oh, God, another Albertan hog. We're clandestine operators in here, chatter. I thought you didn't know that. Why did Capitol allow for Obama to treat Iran and Israel as he did? If they didn't, why did Obama want to oppose Capitol? What do you mean? In terms of foreign policy, you can have disagreements on how you might conduct your affairs. That's normal. There's going to be disagreements. Israel wants to completely destabilize Iran. America might have a different attitude about completely destabilizing Iran because they have to factor in the opinions of other Gulf states that are vassalized as well, whether it be Saudi Arabia or the UAE, and what kind of danger that presents. And they might move in the direction of stability in the region by collaborating with Iran. Like, there's going to be disagreements there. Ultimately, it's still at the behest of domination, but you might have a different method, right? You might have a different method of domination, a different method of controlling the region. The goal is still to control the region, however. Whether you put Palestinians in concentration camps and send them into ovens, or whether you eviscerate them with drone strikes and regular bombing campaigns, the methods are different, but the outcome is the same. Both are different versions of a Holocaust, but yet it's still a genocide. Does that make sense? It doesn't change the reality as a genocide. Both are mechanized versions of slaughter, wholesale slaughter of an ethnic population, of an indigenous population that must be purged for the state's desires. Oh my God, China allows visa-free access for Canadian visitors. Are you fucking kidding me? There's never been a better moment to be Canadian. Stop dabbing on us, Canada. Okay. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention outside of this, outside of the ADL situation, was, all of the, I wonder who the other actors are here that have spent every waking moment attacking not Israel for doing a genocide, but instead its critics for whatever kind of manufactured drama. I wonder who those people are. I think you guys all know who those fucking people are and the many different ways that they've tried to do this, right? In any case, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention here, of course, and that is this attitude that some liberals engage in still to this day. This is another failed attempt to stigmatize certain positions, and I think it's not only inappropriate because the time for this kind of engineering is gone. Okay, I'm going to show you one example of Republicans engineering social dynamics and trying to create an environment of stigma around certain points of view. I'm going to show you how Israel does this as well, still does this, but to a much lesser degree or much less effective way. And then I'm also going to show you how liberals engage in this kind of silliness too. Hold on. The liberal version of this, of course, is something that I tweeted out specifically around this. Hassan also refuses to endorse the candidate that would have prevented all of this, so I'm not sure why he thinks he has much of a moral high ground here, especially when I'm talking about Joe Rogan acting all silly about not knowing that Trump was going to do mass deportations. When a liberal sees this statement from me, okay, Hassan reacts to Trump's Gestapo tactics finally dawning on Joe Rogan. The answer is yes, dumbass. You knew this was going to happen. Trump campaigned on this and you endorsed him. This liberal turns around and still finds a way to blame one of the few people on the left side that was actively warning the Democratic Party not to do certain things that they did. Hassan also refused to endorse a candidate that would have prevented all of this, so I'm not sure why he thinks he has much of a moral high ground here. To which I responded with, libs trying to do this in 2026 can't be serious. I warned the Dems in person at the DNC about the dangers of letting anti-immigrant rhetoric go unchecked. They got cold feet when they saw a couple mass deportation polls and totally conceded to the right. Now here we are. Okay? If your goal, your attitude is to prevent atrocities like the ones that are happening currently, then you have to hold your politicians to account. And I did that to the best of my ability. I try to work with the one party that is more malleable and is supposed to be closer to my worldview because I care about outcomes. I care about policies. I care about people. The Democratic Party, it's not a secret, is far closer to my worldview than the Republican Party is. They're still blaming the color commentator during the basketball game for not begging the audience to root hard enough for the home team instead of the team for not doing what it needed out on the court. Pathetic. I like that. That's actually a really good analogy. Holy shit. And for the record, what these guys want, and I've played this game before, what these guys want is full fealty, okay? Because the non-endorsement situation here, I stand by 100%, okay? I stand by that, absolutely. Especially because I warned everyone about what Donald Trump, the dangers of Donald Trump and what Donald Trump represented. And I warned the Democrats, if they did not sufficiently address some of these problems, that a lot of people were not going to vote for them. And turns out I was fucking right. And perhaps that's the reason why so many of these like adult outlets run by adults, recognize that, you know, there was differing opinions out there that they did not actually address at all. I'm taking the long way home to explain that I was fucking right, and many of the other places you went to for this information, self-soothing lullabies that you fucking heard over and over again with the assumptions that Kamala Harris had this locked down, they were wrong. And instead of recognizing why you were wrong or why you were deluded and then hopefully not repeating that mistake, you still try to crash out on those who were right. Evergreen? Yeah. Oh, this is so bad. This is how you know she crushed it. Yeah. She crushed it so hard. This was on the DNC speech. This guy also is one of my major haters as well. There's like these liberals, CN liberalism. I have a constituency of Twitter liberal posters who just professionally despise everything that I do and everything that I represent. They not only hate me, but now they even hate the Podjons for aligning with someone such as myself and aligning with the Bernie wing of the party in an effort to defend American democracy, in an effort to actually save this fucking country. But these guys do not have that investment at all. They're just party loyalists for some weird reason. Some of them are paid. Some of them are not even paid. Some of them do it for free. They're just professionally wrong. I don't understand it. I don't understand what it will take for these guys to recognize that they're wrong all the fucking time. Now, that's one aspect of this, failed attempt at censorship as well, or the failed attempt to try and punish people for having a differing opinion, even if those people are correct and the people doing the yelling are incorrect. The other way that Israel, for example, does it is this article, right? With the exception of Ro Khanna, none of these lawmakers responded to the request for comment about Piker's latest post on Hamas, nor did the Pod Save America hosts, including John Lovett, John Favreau, Dan Pfeiffer, and Tommy Vitor. This article is from the Jewish Insider. Okay? Hassan Piker doubles down on Hamas support while maintaining progressive credibility by Matthew Cassell. His remarks unequivocally siding with Hamas provide clarifying insight into Piker's worldview, raising questions about the permission structure in the broader progressive movement that tolerates such views. Stop aligning with this guy. Don't listen to him. Don't allow him don't allow him into your groups, not realizing that I am opening up my platform to many of these people. Okay? It's not the other way around. It's literally the other way around. Imagine writing an article about Theo Von, such as this one. Liberals tried for a very long time. Big part of the reason why they kept fucking losing. Did the writer reach out to you for comment? Fuck no. Also, I would never respond to a comment for the Jewish Insider, an outlet that is specifically designed to cut propaganda such as this one. So, I replied to it on Twitter saying, remember when you guys tried to do this with Zoran and no one gave a shit and he's the mayor of New York City now? Not sure how this childish scolding over flattened commentary is going to make Americans under the age of 35 pro-Israel again. Okay? It's not, by the way. It's just not going to work, and it hasn't worked. But they still try it nonetheless. God damn it, dude. Fucking paywall remover is not working. Oh, here it is. Hopefully nope. All right, well, I'm not going to fucking read it then. Who gives a shit? If we can't remove the paywall, then we don't read it. All right. And then the last version of this that I wanted to show you is what Asmongold does, right? Asmongold goes off on Cutie Cinderella. Cutie Cinderella came out and made a statement saying that she was fundraising, or she was paying for stickers in her own Discord server that she was going to give out for free to people in her Discord server after paying an artist that was fundraising for families impacted by ICE. And of course, the Roach King did what the Roach King has been doing over and over again, but to a much lesser degree, because the impact that he has is going to fucking soften. Okay? Why do libs call you the Asmongold of the left? Because they're fucking stupid. As an ex-apolitical centrist, radlibs do a good job of making oneself go all out and self-destruct to destroy the radlibs. That's it. The reason why they do that is because they want to say, oh, Hassan is also just as silly as this guy Asmongold. They want to flatten the commentary. They want to flatten the commentary. They want to flatten the ideology. They want to say these two things are extreme on both sides. But if they were to say, hey, the guy actually saying that everyone deserves healthcare, and the guy actually saying everyone deserves an ICE agent to go to their house and fucking ask them their papers are actually the same, most people will look at you and go, I don't think those two things are the same at all, as a matter of fact. I think you're out of your fucking mind. So instead of saying that, they go, well, they're both Twitch streamers. It's yet another way to not address the talking points that I'm engaging in, not address the ideology, not address my motivation, but instead, or even my background necessarily, but instead to try to flatten it all, to maintain an ultimate enlightened centrist position at a time when most people would consider that to be reductive, silly, and unproductive in general. They would say, hey, I don't really think that this is the case. In any case, we're talking about pressure. We're talking about social pressure and how social pressure plays a big role in silencing opposing viewpoints. Asmongold has a very large audience that will intensely come after you when he directs that attention, that negative attention, your way, okay? He also doesn't make the best arguments in general, but like I said, Cutie wanted to do something nice and basically, position herself as being openly anti-ICE at a time when I think a lot of people are going to slowly but surely, because of people like Cutie Cinderella as well as others, okay, will feel a sense of comfort in the crowd and will be able to openly say, I don't fuck with ICE. I think this is unacceptable, and I'm not afraid to say it. And better yet, I'm not even afraid to go out and protest in the streets. Okay, why did Ai Weiwei just follow me on Twitter? Maybe because you followed him? What's his Twitter? I'm going to follow him. He follows 20,000 people. Anyway.
Things that I don't feel comfortable not saying anything about.
I got to pee.
That's not true. You just think that there's a consensus about this, so you want to talk about it and capitalize on it by virtue signaling. No, you talk about it whenever it's convenient and there's not a lot of backlash for it. That's what's really going on. If you want to lead change with kindness, you should be assisting ICE, helping remove illegal alien criminals, predators, pedophiles, and rapists from the country. If you want to help them and you want to make things better, you should be trying to lobby the people that are in these states instead of using these different random leftists as shock troopers and throwing them out as cannon fodder to have them be psychotic animals and basically end up getting shot. If you want to help, you have to make sure that those people aren't doing that. You're not helping them by doing this.
Actually sign up and get a free.
I want to let you guys know that this is yet another rich person in entertainment that is completely insulated from the consequences of illegal immigration or any sort of behavior that now wants to basically overrule the results of an election because it's socially convenient or socially, I guess trendy to do so. That's what's going on here. Now, does she live in a neighborhood with illegal aliens? Of course not. She probably lives in a gated community.
So I think
it's so horrible that the election happened and people voted to elect Donald Trump to remove illegal aliens.
In the past, okay, couple things that I want to mention. First and foremost, he immediately comes out of the gate swinging and saying, oh, it's a convenient time for her to say this, while in the process of making it very inconvenient for her to say this, right? Because when you say, oh, this is just simply a grift, right? And then you punish them, or even the fact that you mention that it is a grift and it's not a sincerely held belief at all, you're doing that to punish this person, okay? So you're immediately attacking this person. And as a massive content creator on this platform, not only do I personally think this is a projection, this is basically his own personal view about politics in general, very cynical worldview overall, but you're also saying it so that people actually punish people for coming out and dissenting, right? You're engaging in I guess like a self-crit session, you know, cultural revolution style. You got the Maoist Red Guards, but instead of finding some sort of like ideological purity around Mao Zedong thought, it's as Asmongoldian thought, which is whatever the fuck Donald Trump says is good, that you unconditionally deep throat, whatever the fuck our societal elites, pedophilic societal elites say is good, right? Hey, bro, you always talk about Asmon. Oh my God. This is another thing that Asmongold's puppets do with regular frequency as well. This is not about Asmongold, but more so about a broader conversation that we're having. I'm giving you different versions in American ideology, in American politics, different versions of the same kind of stigmatization that takes place to stop people from speaking out. I'm also defending my podcast co-host and friend from attacks. If you have an issue with that, you can take it up with Asmongold. If you don't want me to talk about Asmongold, tell Asmongold to shut the fuck up and go back to playing video games, okay? Or go back to covering titties in video games. I don't know what he was talking about beforehand, but if you don't counter Asmon, idiot points, no one will, because his community scares smaller creators. Yes, that's what it is. And that's how, this is the point. The point I'm making is the moment that you bring up Asmongold in your stream, his fucking cockroaches come in and start saying, shut the fuck up. Why are you talking about Asmongold? Or a number of different heinous things. The reason why you don't really hear heinous things any longer in this chat whenever I cover Asmongold is because we usually purge them. Back in the day, whenever I covered anything that Asmongold was saying, oftentimes in defense of myself, because he still to this day regularly covers me. So does your community, to be fair. This is cope. 100%. 100% cope. Especially considering that I have this kind of shit, okay, in my community. When Asmongold covers me every single day, people celebrate that. They demand it. They're like, please talk about Hassan. Hassan is such a fucking idiot. Talk about the latest thing that Hassan did. When I cover Asmongold, a lot of people come in here and think, well, I'm high and mighty. I'm actually much better than you for not knowing who Asmongold is, regardless of the size that he has on this platform and regardless of what he is presenting. This is not about Asmongold. This is about how social stigma plays a role in silencing political dissent.
Better. You should be trying to lobby the people that are in these states instead of using these different random leftists as shock troopers and throwing them out as cannon fodder to have them be psychotic animals and basically end up getting shot. Yeah,
this is the real working class position. So anyway, Asmongold goes off on Cutie Cinderella after she spoke out against ICE. In a different time, I would say this kind of fucking rhetoric would go unchecked, and it would cause people to shut the fuck up. Because other people would see Cutie Cinderella come out and then get fucking punished socially by a much larger content creator with an audience that is willing to go out and tell them to shut the fuck up, to think twice before they say something, no matter how they feel, no matter if they have anger and resentment in their hearts for what this administration is doing. This is how you get people to shut the fuck up, by doing exactly this. Times are changing. Times are changing now because people that push back on this, their voices are even louder. Okay? I need you to understand. I'm going to address the talking points as well. Okay? One of the most common ways in which Asmongold tries to present his perspective as a common sense opinion is by claiming that this is what the working class wants and making it seem as though he is not an out-of-touch multimillionaire just because he doesn't fucking shower. Many people actually don't understand that Asmongold is even more out of touch than the likes of someone like Cutie Cinderella or even someone like myself, by virtue of us going outside and also regularly showering. But because Asmongold does not shower and lives in a fucking moldy ass, stinky ass house, a lot of people tune in and go, oh my God, he's just like Diogenes. He is my fucking filthy philosopher. He believes the things that I believe, so he must be right. Meanwhile, he is a fucking multimillionaire grifting off of your stupidity by telling you that Donald Trump is fucking awesome. Yeah, based. Everything is common sense. Deluding you into thinking that the perspective that he is consistently reinforcing is actually commonly shared by many others, causing you to feel more isolated in the real world because he's lying to you. If you're on the internet and you spend most of your time on maybe certain subreddits or on Twitter, you are going to be presented with a false reality that the average person is totally on board with what is going on. This is very dangerous. This is why I always try to explain to you that you must go outside of your own echo chambers, okay? And we try to do that to the best of our ability here at the Hasanabi broadcast with regular frequency. And I oftentimes yell at the dumb fucks that tell me, why are you covering Fox News? Why are you covering Trump? Why are you platforming Trump? I yell at them all the time because you have to diversify your media diet and you have to have a better understanding of what other people are thinking and what other people are saying, okay? I cover a litany of different perspectives on this broadcast, okay? From an uncompromising moral position that I've yet to stray away from, and I will continue to do so. And I am telling you, the tide is shifting, okay? The tide is shifting already. Now people actually have had enough. Now people are actually less afraid to come out and speak. And you guys in this community play a role in that as well. And just like people like Cutie Cinderella play a role in this as well. When they come out and they say something and they get yelled at by the likes of Asmongold, but then other people come to her defense and yell at Asmongold, people then realize, oh, wait, I'm not alone. I'm not alone with my feelings. This is the reason why I was able to grow as a content creator initially, because so many people would tune in and go, holy fuck, I live in a goddamn red state and I didn't realize people think the way you do. I thought I was alone. I thought no one else around me felt this way. Okay? And there are many right-wingers who also look for that. Okay? And that's how they arrive at someone like Asmongold, where they go, oh my God, finally someone is actually saying the things I'm thinking, saying the quiet part out loud. Okay? That's it. That's all this is. The reality of the matter is, however, the majority opinion has shifted dramatically away from the hands of the incompetent administration and all the reactionary policies that they are representing, because people are seeing the impact of those policies. Chatters may not have believed the tide was going to shift after October 7th, but we watched American sentiment nearly invert completely over 2 years of genocide in Gaza. Regarding ICE, the shift will happen much faster because it's happening here. Exactly. The shift has already happened. Americans went from 66% saying mass deportation now and voting for the mass deportation president to win over the, less deportation, but still many deportations presidential candidate Kamala Harris, to going abolish ICE. in a matter of a year, less than 1 year into Donald Trump's term. Donald Trump's first term has not, Donald Trump's second term, the first year has not even ended yet. Okay, we got 4 more days for the 365 days to complete. And it took 1 year, but we are now here. The majority position is now to demand to abolish ICE once again. And it's only going to get worse from here on out. It's not like the economy is going to get fixed. It's not like people are going to magically experience prosperity. People are more and more frustrated every single day, and Trump's base is fucking hemorrhaging. Okay? And a lot of these people do not actually care about that. A lot of these people don't actually have the broad awareness to understand that. I'm sorry, Asmongold is not a very intelligent person. He's not as stupid as the way he presents himself. He is definitely very cynical. He is very sinister in his commentary, but he's ultimately not that smart because he doesn't have a lot of experience in the realm of political commentary. He's a simple grifter, simply saying Trump is good, Trump is based over and over again because he realized that, you know, there is an audience for it. There is a market for it. Okay? And because of that, he doesn't realize that the walls are closing in. One of the first instances where he realized that the walls are closing in was this past week when he actually came out and said, yeah, based, when talking about a 37-year-old woman, Renee Good, who was a good woman, okay, a good American, a patriotic American who was defending her neighbors, who was shot in the middle of a fucking street in Minneapolis. He said that was based. He said, fuck around and find out. And a lot of people realized that this is the kind of heinous shit that he was trafficking in, okay? And they started pushing back. And as soon as he experienced even a fraction of the scrutiny, enmity, animosity that he has brought about to others with his audience, he decided, oh, maybe I won't talk about politics as much. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but one thing he does not realize is that he doesn't know how to pivot, okay? One thing he does not realize is that the Trump train is not going to keep cooking. It's not going to keep going. The Trump train is already off the rails. You still think it is on the rails. You still think it's going to arrive at this destination. It's not, okay? The tide shift is already here. And instances like this and pushing back on large content creators such as Asmongold for trafficking in not only conspiracy, but also heinous, toxic, repulsive propaganda that consistently defends the Republican administration, no matter how pedophilic it gets, no matter how pro-Israel it gets, is going to sour people from watching him. And the only way that a lot of people who, unfortunately for us, experience politics as all vibes and nothing else, utterly devoid of policy impact, utterly devoid of ideological conditioning, will eventually realize the vibes are kind of stinky on that side of politics, and they'll slowly but surely find themselves on our side once again. But it is always pertinent on someone like myself and many others with a platform to properly educate people, to give them a proper political education so they do not stray away from empathy first politics, from good policies that they demand in an uncompromising manner, and not just go back to the other side when the vibes shift once again. That's it. That's it. Yeah, again, he's shit talking the clip, but that you're talking about right now from a mile away. He could only watch people in 3-second increments just so he can gather more thoughts since he can't argue against their point.
Leftists as shock troopers and throwing them out as cannon fodder to have them be psychotic animals and basically end up getting shot. If you want to help,
he's talking about this right now and calling you a panderer for defending Cutie. Yeah, no, that's what I'm doing. I'm pandering. No, I'm celebrating, just like when he celebrates Rev Says Dezu or whatever the fuck that lolly account is, that lolly VTuber, when he says things that are seemingly on his ideological side, okay? I'm celebrating a content creator coming out and actually saying openly that they are against ICE. At a time like this one, it is necessary, it is pertinent on all people with a platform, all people with influence to come out and fucking say that this is unacceptable, this is wrong. Okay? I'm sick and tired of the environment of silence that was created by right-wingers who were very loud and very proud to show everyone how fucking toxic they were. Okay? To show everyone how they love all of these vices. Okay? Vice signaling over and over and over again. Okay? It's done. It's done. It's here. That tide shift is here. Okay? And there will be more and more people that come out and say, Asmongold, shut the fuck up. Go take a shower. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Why would you get so bent out of shape on something like this?
You have to make sure that those people aren't doing that. You're not helping them by doing this.
Actually sign up and get a free.
I want to let you guys know that this is yet another rich person in entertainment that is completely insulated from the consequences of illegal immigration or any sort of behavior that now wants to basically overrule the results of an election.
Also, the other thing that his fans always do is like, lol, you're talking about him, because they want his positions to go uncontested. And because they can't actually argue against whatever I'm presenting here, they go, oh, lol, of course you're talking about it. Lol, I just trolled you and I derailed the conversation. I won, right? This is pathetic. They don't want his opinion to go contested. They want his opinion to run uncontested, right? That's it. They're not in it for any kind of real purpose. That's why they automatically would go, oh, well, he has more viewers than you. Well, one day he will have less viewers than me. What will you say then? You know, eventually you're going to have to argue on the points. Maybe today is not that day for you, but eventually you are going to have to argue on the points. Or you'll probably do what I expect many in Asmongold's community and audience to do, which is quietly move to the other side and act as though you were there all along. That's usually what people do, especially because they're anonymous. But don't worry. We're open-minded here. At least I am open-minded here. I'll welcome you with open arms as long as you're out there doing the right thing.
Because it's socially convenient or socially, I guess trendy to do so. That's what's going on here.
So,
now,
yeah.
Does she live in a neighborhood with illegal aliens?
She lives in Los Angeles, California, my friend. Is Los Angeles, California an immigrant-riddled shithole? Or is it utterly devoid of illegal immigrants? Cutie Cinderella lives in Los Angeles, California. The notion that there are no undocumented immigrants living in her neighborhood or anywhere in Los Angeles, California is very fucking stupid. Okay? As a matter of fact, Los Angeles, California is proof that, the immigration status of a person does not actually dictate anything, and people can live harmoniously alongside one another, regardless of where their starting position was. Very stupid for him to make this argument.
Of course not. She probably lives in a gated community.
So I think
It's so horrible that the election happened and people voted to elect Donald Trump to remove illegal aliens, but
who gets to avoid other people more, you think? A person who, once again, he doesn't even know whether she lives in a gated community or not. She doesn't, But once again, you don't go outside. You are infinitely more out of touch with the average person. You are infinitely more out of touch with the average person, and you're even wealthier than Cutie Cinderella. You have a larger platform than Cutie Cinderella. You're much wealthier than Cutie Cinderella. You are a multi-millionaire. Just because you don't shower and present yourself as though you have an ascetic lifestyle, you present yourself as having an ascetic lifestyle, does not mean that you actually are in touch with the common person. A person that goes outside is infinitely more in touch with the common person than a multimillionaire who doesn't go outside ever. Okay? Yeah, it's not necessarily an ascetic lifestyle, but maybe an acidic lifestyle, as this chatter is saying as well. But, that's neither here nor there.
hey, we shouldn't listen to the elections. We should listen to you. Hey,
CEO of multiple companies, business owner, never leaves his home, multimillionaire, talking about how other people are out of touch for what? For saying their political positions? Argue against the points, Asmongold. Argue against the points instead of trying to lean into the popularity of Donald Trump, especially at a time when Donald Trump is objectively unpopular. Stop deluding your audience. Donald Trump is no longer popular. And a big part of the reason why he's no longer popular is because he won the election with lies. Lies such as, we are going to deport undocumented migrants because they're all criminals. That was a lie to begin with. And that this is going to yield tremendous economic prosperity. Another lie. He is trying to deport as many undocumented migrants as he possibly can, many of which are not criminals at all, as a matter of fact, or have like very little, very small violations that are again, paperwork problems in general, okay? And he's doing this in an incredibly cruel and incredibly ruthless manner, so much so that has led to his unpopularity. He's unpopular on the issue of immigration, an issue that he ran on and won on, okay? So people are directly saying, no, what you're doing here is bad, okay? And not only that, but he's also unpopular because he hasn't fixed the economy. As a matter of fact, the economy is horrible for working class individuals. You wouldn't know that, though, because you're an out-of-touch multimillionaire. Just because you sit in a moldy home does not mean that you are not an out-of-touch multimillionaire who is grifting and deluding people into thinking that things are actually good and Donald Trump is actually dominating. What is this argument that everyone has to agree with what the result of the last election was? I hear it from hogs all the time, but what is the point? I don't see them loving Joe Biden when he was elected. Exactly. It's fucking stupid. It's not a real argument at all. You only present that if you are utterly devoid of any sort of real arguments. Okay? You don't have any real arguments, so you just keep going, well, we won the election. Get wrecked, libtard. That's all you have. Okay? His fans are suffering in silence, feeling powerless because they want Asmongold to debate you, but he will never do it out of fear of looking ridiculous, which is exactly what would happen. I know. If you are an Asmongold fan in this community that is watching right now to talk about, to talk shit, you came in here to be like, watching Asmongold again. Take up your issues with Asmongold, who talks about me, but rarely ever talks to me. Has a very hard time talking to me, as a matter of fact. I'm not the one who is running away from a conversation. I've actually been very charitable and very kind to Asmongold every single time we have had conversations. He just doesn't want to fold in front of someone else who actually knows what they're talking about. And that's precisely the reason why he avoids having a conversation with me, but won't avoid consistently farming drama. Even though this is not even about drama, this is about policy disagreements, policy differences. If you cannot test your mettle in the marketplace of ideas, maybe you're not so confident in your ideas at all.
Fuck democracy. It doesn't matter what people vote on. No, this is just the wrong thing to do anyway. I don't think so. This is another, as I said, it's another privileged white girl that lives in a gated community, totally insulated from the consequences of any degree of negative effect of illegal migration or any other problem that's a secondary effect of that. You never have to worry about having food stamps be delayed because of this or having food stamps be cut because
once again, the commoner position here for Asmongold, okay, is the idea that ICE is actually good because it's actually, removing migrants. And for the record, Cutie Cinderella was on food stamps. Asmongold was on food stamps as well, which is something that he brings up quite frequently. But so was Cutie Cinderella. Cutie Cinderella grew up very, very poor. Perhaps even more poor than Asmongold was, let's be real. This is something that she has talked about on the Fear End podcast. This is something she talks about on her own stream. Asmongold is infinitely more disconnected from reality because he's out of touch. He's a multimillionaire who never leaves his home. Just want to point that out one more time. When he tries to present this argument as though he is taking on the commoner position, the common working class position here, by presenting her as a privileged white girl living in a gated community, he's actually trying to redirect the attention away from himself. Because if his audience was constantly holding him to account to be like, well, aren't you a multimillionaire yourself and you don't really leave your house, all of a sudden, the mirage would shift. People would start realizing, okay, yeah, sure, you wear the same white t-shirt all the time. Maybe that's just marketing, right? Unfortunately for all of us, a lot of people do fall for that marketing, which is precisely the reason why a lot of people get mad at me and they say, Hassan, well, you present yourself as an incredibly wealthy person. You wear high fashion clothes and you have a nice car, you have a nice home, over and over again, as though this has anything to do with the arguments that I'm presenting, as though this has anything to do with, as though this is at odds with my worldview in any shape or form, right? It does not. But it's an easy, boom, one shot that causes people to go, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. Okay? He said, y'all are just saying it when it's popular. You in 2018 saying abolish ICE with a video calling them Gestapo. Yes, I've been there. I've been there for years. This is nothing new.
First they came for the communists.
This is in February 12, 2018, when I was at the Young Turks, when I called ICE Gestapo. Okay? I've been there. I've been there consistently and have never shied away from this position, no matter how quote unquote unpopular it has seemingly gotten. Okay? The real reason why Asmongold is lashing out like this is because he realizes that his position is inevitably going to become unpopular because he's tied himself to the Trump train. Okay? And now that the Trump train is actually off the rails, he's also off the rails. This is why I get somewhat frustrated when people try to be like, well, you're just like Asmongold. You don't know anything. It's like, bitch, I've been doing this for many, many years, okay? Just because you weren't aware of it doesn't mean that I wasn't there.
There's a bunch of people that are dependent on it. You don't have any level and any understanding of this at all because you're rich. You're totally rich. You're totally disconnected from the average person. We call it virtue signaling. It is. It's totally optics driven. It's embarrassing.
Once again, nothing to say about the argument. Nothing to say that, fuck ICE is a totally reasonable and, dare I say, popular position, even though he did bring up that it's popular now. So he is literally admitting that it's a popular position now, and that's why he's lashing out, trying to make people shut the fuck up, trying to force them into silence by bullying them. It's not going to work. Okay? Especially because at the heart of this argument is the most in touch with the working class take is actually when you demand for white working class moms to get shot in the face by ICE. Okay? That's it. That's the in touch position. These people work way harder than you do. The people that are getting deported work way harder than you do. They are way more productive than you are. What the fuck do? You don't do anything. And neither do I, for the record. And I live with that shame every day. So I try to do my very best to at least engage in broad awareness initiatives and do fundraisers, work with community organizers, work with politicians, work with political campaigns. That's the reason why I do that. Go out to protests, speak at marches, the things that I do, partially, I do because I know that if I just sat around and just chirped, it's not enough. Meanwhile, that's all he does. All he does is chirp, and his heart is not even in it. If you can't actually argue against the positions being presented, you just attack the person. That's all this is. The argument that he's presenting is that ICE is good. Why is ICE good? Because it's deporting undocumented migrants. Why is this a good thing? Because undocumented migrants are stealing food stamps. None of this is true, okay? Undocumented migrants actually cannot take advantage of any social welfare in this country, okay? That's number one. And their impact on the economy is positive. It's not negative at all. Their crime is not a real crime. It's not a felony, no matter how hard these people lie and try to make it seem as though they're all bloodthirsty murderers. Undocumented migrants are a net positive on the economy. They put back more into taxpayer funds than they actually take out in the form of any sort of social safety nets because they don't have access to these social safety nets. These are things that we have talked about a million times over. And ultimately, what they are being violently deported for is simply a paperwork issue that could be solved just like that.
Because of this, or having food stamps be cut because there's a bunch of people that are dependent on it. You don't have any
undocumented migrants are not actually taking food stamps from U.S. citizens, for the record. This is a lie. He is just lying. He has no evidence for this.
Totally disconnected from the average person. We call it virtue signaling.
The average person is infinitely closer to an undocumented migrant. As a matter of fact, probably encounters undocumented migrants with regular frequency at the places they go to, whether they be businesses they frequent or even work alongside them at the regular job sites that they go to. Asmongold is actually an out-of-touch Twitch streamer who is a multi-millionaire who never leaves his home, and therefore he is completely oblivious to this reality. If anything, the federal government spending $75 billion in additional funds on ICE to go out and hire the most racist dumbasses with zero fucking training to go and harass random American citizens and undocumented neighbors alike is infinitely worse and an infinitely worse pressure on the social safety nets than whatever hypothetical imagined fantasy Asmongold has about undocumented migrants stealing welfare, which is not a real thing at all. Okay? Well, why did the average person vote for Trump then? I don't know. If you don't like Joe Biden, ask yourself the question, why did the average person vote for Joe Biden? It's the same reason, okay? Because they deluded themselves into thinking that Joe Biden would represent a change that they appreciate, okay? Just like a lot of people deluded themselves into thinking Trump would be a positive change. They didn't like Kamala Harris. I'm very honest about this kind of stuff. If you've ever listened to me during the election cycle, you would have heard me say over and over again, Donald Trump is most likely going to win because Kamala Harris is actually doing a dog shit job at running a campaign and presenting herself as an out-of-touch elitist who is not in tune with the needs of the working class. This allows Donald Trump to, for example, present himself as an isolationist and a peace candidate. The reason why Donald Trump was able to lie about being the peace candidate, even though he was president for 4 years and he certainly wasn't the peace candidate then, was because the oppositional figure in the opposing party was anchored around continuing a genocide that a foreign country was doing with unlimited weapons and unlimited funding from us with our taxpayer dollars, right? With our taxpayer dollars. And also simultaneously saying that she is going to command the most lethal military in the world, the most lethal U.S. military that the U.S. military has ever seen. And hugging and kissing Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney and winning their endorsements and parading around as though these guys had any constituency whatsoever. When you present yourself as the pro-war party, the other side is going to have a much easier time presenting themselves as the peace party, even if they are not going to do that. This is precisely the reason why a lot of voters for Donald Trump are experiencing buyer's remorse right now. Yes, but he specifically promised to get rid of the migrants, and that's why many voted for him. That's one promise he actually kept. Except if you were, once again, around here at any given moment throughout the election cycle, you had heard me say Americans actually vote for things that they don't like all the time. One example that I used in the election cycle was abortion. Many right-wing Americans thought they wanted to ban abortion, and once abortion bans actually came through because the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, they realized, oh shit, we don't like this at all. We don't like this one bit. Okay? And that's precisely the reason why, even though the position of mass deportation was polling at around 66% in the lead up to the election, and Donald Trump was seen as a guy who was going to deal with this problem, is now deeply unpopular because of his anti-migrant policies. People who are pro-migrant, people who are the pro-migration position is at 75%, peaking at its highest approval rating right now. Donald Trump is underwater on his immigration policies, and people are very upset at the way things are going, even if they voted for it. I've met many people, even on stream, that have said, I'm Latino, I voted for Donald Trump because I thought he was going to actually deport the criminal migrants and not my family members. And he deported my family members, and I very quickly realized he was lying. Another reason as to why he was able to get away with this lie is because the Democratic Party that previously had committed to a firm opposition on the pro-migrant position completely dropped that this time around in this election cycle and said, no, actually, migrants do constitute a national security crisis. The Republicans are right on this, and we are going to be the competent figures that actually engage in deportations. That was wrong. And I said over and over again that leaning into the lies and conceding to the lies that the Republicans were creating in an effort to justify mass deportations is one of the worst things you could possibly do, because it makes you look like a hypocrite. It makes you look like a coward. It makes you look like you got caught in a lie. When ironically enough, they were the ones who were lying from the start. And once the policy positions become reality, people quickly realize that that is a lie. This is not insane framing at all. Or, oh, you're talking about the way that Republicans are framing this. Okay? Some Democrats' radical commitment to funding increasingly unpopular violence is out of touch with the public's trajectory and is politically naive. Concerning that these extremist figures are apparently leading the opposition to Trump, do Democrats want another 2024? A plurality of Americans want to abolish ICE, including Democrats, 77 to 12. Black voters, 62 to 18. Hispanic voters, 58 to 31. By the way, notice how black voters actually have a more negative opinion on ICE than Hispanic voters do. Just something to consider here. Moderates, 45 to 35, and 15% of Trump voters. And Democratic leadership is apparently offering to give ICE more money in exchange for a few reforms. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Insane.
It is. It's totally optics driven. It's embarrassing. And honestly, I think that it's not surprising either. Cutie Cinderella, especially after that crash out that she had with like, who was it? The KDB and Vanilla Mace. Whenever she looked bad for saying that she wasn't going to disown her father because her father disagreed because of her trans brother or something like this. Well, now she has to make up for that.
Again, utterly irrelevant point here. Not relevant at all, but it's signaling to like a irrelevant drama to once again disparage the person for actually standing in opposition to ICE. He has a disagreement on what Cutie Cinderella is doing here, but he can't actually entertain the real argument because he doesn't, one, have the knowledge to entertain the actual argument and attack the argument itself and talk about why ICE is good. So he brings up a whole bunch of like fake bullshit saying, oh, well, ICE is actually doing a good job and people voted for it because like, you know, these criminal migrants are stealing welfare. Again, all bullshit. But most of the argument, if you noticed in this 3-minute video that I was looking at for like the last 25 to 35 minutes, is all conjecture. It's all utterly devoid of policy positions. There's no counterpoint. There's nothing at all. It's briefly he mentions why ICE is good, but most of it is just she's bad, white woman in a gated community. She fucking sucks. She's doing this because it's now, optically sound to do so. She's actually silly. She's stupid. She's out of touch. She's out of touch with the commoner perspective, the common working class perspective, all this stuff. You only engage in this kind of argumentation when you actually have no argument to have, okay? When you do not have a real argument, a valid position, when you cannot let your argument stand on its own virtues, okay? You just go, look at all the drama that she was in. Also, what did Cutie Cinderella do to Asmongold? Literally nothing. She's just someone to bully, ridicule, and humiliate for him. That's it. That's it. He's just crashing out on people because they don't agree with the position that he has framed his entire, political career around, that ICE is good.
By doing this performative activism and pretending like this is such a horrible thing. The only level that Cutie Cinderella has of interacting with illegal aliens is...
Yeah, also, this is the other thing. Exactly. He wants to make sure that other content creators that speak out know that he will attack them. He wants to punish creators that speak out against his worldview. He wants to create a hug box. And he has, to a certain degree. Why the fuck do you think he spent every goddamn waking moment shitting on me every single day for like the last 2 years? It's not just because he gets the numbers when he does stuff like that. It's also because he's creating a safe space for some of the most pathetic vice signaling losers. Okay? That's why no matter how big or small certain content creators are, he goes after them, okay? He goes after them aggressively and maliciously, and his audience goes after them. He went after Connor as well. You can use the example as he's never shit on Charlie, although Charlie called out ICE in that video, and those with Asmongold's views are blind and stupid. Yeah, he's too much of a pussy to fucking go after Moist Critical because... Moist Critical has an audience that is much larger than his audience. Moist Critical is actually a beloved content creator in this space. And he would never actually go after Moist Critical for expressing the same exact point of view. Moist also has financial ties with OTK and Asmongold. That's probably part of the problem as well for both parties involved, by the way, because it's not like Moist Critical is oblivious to Asmongold. He accused you of doing this. He said Hassan wants to create a reward structure for negative commentary against me. Ironic coming from him. Yeah, a guy who has basically been engaging in this negative commentary structure in an effort to, to boost himself in the algorithm over and over again for the past 2 years is now saying, I'm doing the same thing. Well, guess what, dude? Sucks to suck. And for the record, I will be honest with you. I do want there to be an incentive structure around people who are opposing not just Asmongold. I mean, I don't give a shit about Asmongold. If Asmongold started talking about World of Warcraft again or played video games every single day and maybe every now and then talked about titties and video games, I would not give a shit. He did that for years. He was a much larger content creator than me for years while he was doing that. And did I ever fucking criticize him? Did I ever complain? Did I ever mention Asmongold at all? No, of course not. Many people had no idea who the fuck Asmongold was in my community for that reason. The only reason why I want there to be an incentive structure around not just shitting on Asmongold, but just shitting on right-wing sentiment is because I hate right-wing sentiment. I abhor right-wing sentiment. I oppose right-wing sentiment. This is what I've done for the past decade plus. And if Asmongold wants to keep promoting right-wing values that I find to be repulsive, that I find to be toxic, that I find to be not hospitable, and make this space that I'm in a worse place overall, of course I'm going to oppose it. And I hope that other people will find courage in both my conviction and many others, and find courage in numbers to also oppose him.
Probably whenever they come to clean her house. That's it. Other than that, there's no other time that Cutie Cinderella is interacting with illegal aliens other than unfairly benefiting from their labor. So, big surprise, it's another privileged white girl that's trying to talk about how important it is that we need to keep these indentured servants.
Yeah, also, you have to understand another reason where, like, where people will go, oh my God, like, why the fuck are you talking about Asmongold? Well, the vice president retweeted him. You know, maybe that's a pretty fucking solid reason to oppose a fairly prominent right-wing content creator. The vice president not only retweeted him, but he also celebrated the vice president retweeting him and talked about this.
Ooh. Oh, obviously. Got retweeted by the vice president. It's a good day for me, huh? How about that? Yeah. How about that, bro? We're bringing it back. Real recognized real? Yeah. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Y'all got to take that 2% idea I had. Y'all got to think about that. You're going to get those in the fucking, what do you call it? The mental institutions back. They do. That's fucking funny. Oh my God. I got retweeted by the vice president. That's nuts. How about that? Think he's watching right now? Maybe, man. Maybe. That'd be fucking funny if it was. And yeah, winners win. I guess that's the case, right? No, the fuck, that's crazy. I mean, the thing is that I don't really talk about this a lot because I think that it's kind of like an ego thing. I know there are other streamers that like talking a lot about how, you know, they get mainstream credibility and mainstream.
I wonder who he's talking about. This also reveals that he does fucking hate that nobody takes him seriously. Look at how excited he is that someone in a position of power has actually validated his worldview after spending years sucking up to the administration. Very interesting that he just like briefly brings up mainstream credibility here. Who's watching this motherfucker, bro? He's so repulsive. Equally repulsive people. Okay? Equally repulsive people that should be fucking bullied on the internet for openly, for not even feeling a sense of embarrassment for saying openly that they follow Asmongold. And it's not because of like the way he looks, for the record. It's because of what he says and how little he knows. It's kind of like people who don't feel embarrassed openly saying like, I watched that Nick Shirley video and it was fucking brilliant. We really need to bring back stigma. Okay? These guys have dominated the realm of social stigma for far too long. It is ridiculous that people openly can say they are fans of Asmongold and everybody doesn't go, what the fuck are you talking about? This dude has barely ever had a fucking real job, doesn't know a single damn thing, is just talking out of his fucking ass, and only recently became this political propagandist. And all he does is just relitigate state propaganda over and over again, regurgitate state propaganda over and over again. I don't necessarily have an issue with him becoming the face of the modern right-wing movement, by the way. I think that when under the spotlight, guys like this will crumble because they are devoid of real ideological conviction and the stubbornness necessary to be in this battle for an extended period of time. And especially if the money dries up, they'll fucking stop. That's one of the things I will say now, especially because enough time has passed. But you know that I stand by my principles even when shit gets hot. Okay? I do. If Asmongold halved his audience tomorrow, he would never talk about Trump again. That is a fucking promise. Okay? When my audience halved after October 7, I did not stop talking about Israel. If I was a fucking grifter, that would have been my pivot. I dialed in and day out, I kept pushing. And that wasn't a real sacrifice in comparison to all of the people that lost their fucking lives trying to show the rest of the world what Israel was doing. Okay? 10 toes down, baby. All the fucking way. That time will come. And when it does, he will say he no longer wants to be in the divisive world of politics. It's gotten too bad. But the real reason will be because Donald Trump is so unimaginably unpopular that the stigma that was associated with people who initially dared to criticize him on the internet, like Twitter or Twitch, will now turn on its face just like it did with Israel. Post October 7, if you actually had anything to say about Israel beyond Am Israel Chai, Israel is the greatest nation on the planet, everyone would yell at you. They would say, get the fuck out of here. How dare you? You fucking love terrorism. You want to decapitate babies, don't you? Right? And now, if you dare to say something positive about Israel in polite society, they look at you like, what the fuck are you saying? And that is what's going to happen with Trump as well. It's already beginning to happen with Trump, and it's only going to get worse for everyone that's a Trump supporter. And when that time comes, he will try to pivot. He will try to turn around and say, you have narcissistic features when you talk about what you said / did and ideology. You're so amazing. I have narcissistic features. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because this is a common line of attack for people in this commentary space. Oh, you're a grifter. You're a grifter. You see what I mean? At least among the youth and the online, Israel is 110% lost a culture war. Calling something Israeli is synonymous with cringe or lame among people under 25. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, here he is talking about the vice president retweeting
It's
him.
kind of like an ego thing. I know there are other streamers that like talking a lot about how, you know, they get mainstream credibility and mainstream approval. There's a lot of guys that are in really high places that I've spoken to and communicated with, and they're really nice guys, and some of them really appreciate what I do. And so
he's talking about Elon Musk, for the record. For people who are wondering who he's referencing here, it's Elon Musk. No, it's not Cap. Elon Musk actually fucking highlights this shit all the time, and I suspect that they DM one another with regular frequency.
yeah, I don't really talk about this. I don't go on news stations or anything like that, but I just go out and do whatever the fuck, right?
What news station would have you? Actually, like maybe Fox News, I guess. You cannot handle the spotlight, my friend. A big part of the reason why you cannot handle the spotlight is because you don't actually have real convictions. You're just doing it for pure grift. And the moment of pushback, the first side of pushback, you would fold, as you do every single time. That's why you're Asman fold. You don't have any social skills. You don't have any ideological conviction. And you don't even want to fucking shower. And I feel like if you went on Fox News looking like this, people go, ew, gross. This is our representative on the internet? God damn. You would make people fucking reconsider right-wing positions. Asmongold is the Rabbi Shmuley of defending right-wing propaganda. Anyone that encounters Rabbi Shmuley will leave that conversation damning Israel to hell, okay? Although Rabbi Shmuley wants to defend Israel, he is so repulsive in the ways that he tries to defend Israel that most people, even people who were pro-Israel prior to encountering Rabbi Shmuley, leave that conversation thinking, you know, the Palestinian resistance can't be all that bad. And Asmongold has a similar vibe for normies. He is a normie repellent, okay? both on the inside and on the outside, just like Rabbi Shmuley. Any normie that encounters Asmongold's talking points, regardless of how right-wing they might have been prior to that conversation, will at the very least sincerely reconsider their worldview. They will go, this is the guy on my side. I don't know if I am on the right side of this argument. Do not delude yourselves into thinking he just kind of looks like your average MAGA hog. He looks and sounds like the ruraloid meth head that I showed you the other day. To the average normie who lives in a fucking quiet suburb, who votes straight ticket Republican, this is poison.
So, yeah, it's not a big deal. I don't, it's not an ego to me. It's just that's the way it is. I mean, I look at it, it's cool to see, but yeah, that's about it. And how does it feel? I mean, it feels good. I mean, the thing is that, and this is what I said too, wow, it's almost as if the thing that obviously happened because it was recorded from multiple angles and analyzed by the whole world on a frame-by-frame basis.
This is what's so funny about this, by the way. Like, a week after the incident, they come out, CBS News, by the way, Israel News, Israel's #1 news station, CBS News. Shouts out to Barry Weiss. Shouts out to the Ellisons. Most pro-Trump and pro-Israel news station in America now. Comes out and says, breaking, the ICE agent who fatally shot Renee Good on January 7th in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident. Instantly gets, quote, retweeted by fucking J.D. Vance. While much of the left has lied about this case, it turns out ramming a law enforcement officer with a car caused injuries. Who knew? And he's obviously glazing and replying to CBS News here. Now, that was a week later, and not a single fucking person believes this shit. Good luck. Good luck on this argument. There's a new New York Times visual investigation disproving that he was hit. Oh, there's another one? Hell yeah. Nobody's fucking buying it. Nobody.
This actually happened. Amazing. Looking forward to seeing the next goalpost shift. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to see the next goalpost shift. What we're going to see instead is just them agreeing with each other and lying. They're like, no, it's not real. CBS is lying. Fox News.
It's really funny because he's doing that. Okay? He is straight up doing that here. He is lying in a biased manner to maintain the idea, to maintain the delusion for his audience that is now absolutely the minority position, by the way, that the situation shows that their side was right. Go back in your country. I mean, I guess you're right. First of all, I am in my country. But I guess if I were to go back in my country, I would probably go back to New Jersey. That's what you mean, right? Like, go back in your country. Like, you're obviously in your country, but like, go back to the place that you're from in your country. Yes. Thank you. I love that Germany, bro. Yeah, I was about to say, I can tell. I love that a German with broken English tells an American citizen to go back to his own country, but has a hard time actually saying it because he can't even speak proper English, which is interesting for a German. Okay? Because most Germans actually speak English very well. And ends up accidentally not even saying go back to your country, but recognizes that I'm in my country.
This is lying. The media is lying. The reporters are lying.
All right. Anyway, let's move on from this. What is this? A blatant act of authoritarianism. This is the playbook of a wannabe dictator to rationalize even more extreme abuses of power. You want to replace the authority of an election with the authority of a mob. Do not listen to any of these people cry about authoritarianism. They're only mad. They're not authoritarians. Holy ratio. Oh my God, I can't believe the fucking neo-Nazi dick writer on the neo-Nazi pedophile website is getting other neo-Nazis to like his tweet. That's crazy. Here's the investigation from the visual investigation from the New York Times. Okay. Eric Toller, friend of the show, Eric Toller, went in with the visual investigations team at the New York Times and detailed second by second video analysis of all the video footage for the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis. This is a crazy way to fucking do this, by the way, frame by frame. Like, why wouldn't you post this as a regular, whatever.
This is a cell phone video filmed by
They made this straight for TikTok.
the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good in Minneapolis. The White House press secretary said this footage reaffirmed President Trump's previous claim, based on other videos, that Miss Good, quote, didn't try to run him over, she ran him over. Watched in isolation, the cell phone video might look like that's the case. But when analyzed alongside other angles of the shooting, synchronized by the Times, a much more complicated picture is revealed. More footage will likely emerge, but the currently available visual evidence still shows no indication Agent Jonathan Ross got run over. The footage does provide some visibility into the positioning between the agent and Miss Good's SUV and the key moments of escalation. And it establishes, frame by frame, how Agent Ross put himself in a dangerous position near her vehicle in the first place. About 3 minutes before the shooting, footage shows Miss Good and her wife park their maroon SUV in the middle of the street and begin honking and heckling. Administration officials say they were impeding and blocking immigration agents. Footage shows 11 vehicles maneuver around the SUV, including this Chevy Tahoe driven by Agent Ross. When he exits, he's already filming Miss Good's SUV, not with a body camera typical of most law enforcement, but using a cell phone in his hand. It's not clear why. The agent's footage shows his interactions with Miss Good and her wife.
That's okay, we don't change our plates every morning.
There's verbal jabbing.
It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S.
By the way, when she says it'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later, what she's indicating is they're leaving, but you can conduct an investigation and try and, criminally punish us after the fact. Ross, on the other hand, obviously has a different opinion in mind.
We see the agent switching the phone from his right hand to his left as he heads toward the front seat of his Tahoe.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy.
During this time, on the other side of the SUV, 2 new agents arrive in a pickup. We see Miss Good motions them to go
Yeah, she's also talking about ice switching plates, yes.
around her.
Go ahead. Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car.
Over the next 6 seconds,
Out of the car.
we see one agent reaching into the SUV, Miss Good starting to drive, then Agent Ross firing 3 shots. Now let's go back and analyze some of the key contested moments of the agent's cell phone video, alongside other footage to break down what happens during these critical 6 seconds. Here, the agent's cell phone footage shows he's moving directly in front of the SUV, as it's reversing and rotating towards him, initiating a 3-point turn apparently to leave. Law enforcement officers are trained to avoid doing this because it puts them in danger and often leads to the use of force against drivers. The cell phone is focused squarely on Miss Good. She looks down, shifts into drive, and begins turning to the right, away from the agent. Cut to this high angle and zoom in.
Will Asman go watch this? No. And if he does, he'll go, yeah, you see what they're trying to do is they know they're in the wrong. Everyone knows they're in the wrong. Everyone agrees with me. This is the common sense position. And so fake liberal news is doing their very best to make sure that it just looks different. But don't believe your lying eyes, right, guys? Don't believe your lying eyes. Yeah. Dr. fucking giant Dr. Pepper soda canister that he's sucking on.
We can make out the agent's
Right.
body and his arm filming. We can also see at the same time he's beginning to lift his other arm. On these cameras, we can see what's happening around Agent Ross. The other agent is yelling orders and reaching into Miss Good's SUV.
Wait,
Her
what
front
the
tire
fuck?
spins
I had not seen this one before. Whoa, is this a new angle? Oh, shit.
as she continues turning right. Agent Ross is at least a few feet away from Miss Good's SUV. He does not appear to move out of the way. As the SUV rolls forward,
I don't know if the New York Times will actually mention this. I don't know if the New York Times will actually show this or say this, but ICE agents diving in front of vehicles in an effort to get a legal kill was such a broad problem that it was actually investigated in 2014. It was reported on, I believe, in 2016. This was something that they kept doing over and over again that they had to change the law enforcement manual for ICE agents, just so you understand.
The agent unholsters his firearm. We see in his cell phone video at this moment the camera drifting off to the left. The agent is no longer focused on filming. It's at this point in the...
Look at her biting her lip and looking directly at the cop before driving forward. Wait, biting her lip? Are you all right, dude? What the fuck? The car does not even run him over. What the fuck do you mean biting her lip? You have to be a real psychopath. Dude, you are so deranged, brother. What the fuck?
Cell phone
Anyway,
video where it first looks and sounds like the agent's getting knocked violently to the left. The agent is no longer focused on filming. It's at this point in the cell phone video where it first looks and sounds like the agent's getting knocked violently.
Bro, she definitely ran him over. Just watch the video. Just watch the video. Just watch the video. Just watch the video.
On the other camera, we can see what's happening. Here is Agent Ross aiming his gun at Miss Good, and here is his outstretched arm leaning toward her vehicle, which is barely visible behind the top.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. What's that?
His phone, which is gripped in his left hand, flips over when the agent's hand lands on the front of the vehicle. There's an audible thud when it hits. The camera rotates up towards the sky. Again, while it appears the agent's getting knocked over, we can see that's not the case from the other angle.
Wait a
which
minute.
shows he's standing with his hand near the headlight, his torso and legs away from the vehicle. In the cell phone footage, the agent's face flashes on screen, then it goes black. The other angle shows us why. We can see the agent's foot sliding, his hand bracing against the SUV, and his arm getting pressed into his chest. It is impossible to determine if this is happening because of the SUV's movement or the icy asphalt, or more likely, both. And what's very unclear because of the limited quality and availability of footage is whether the agent's upper body gets swiped by the vehicle as his left foot slides back. This moment is when Agent Ross fires.
And if you notice, both of his feet are directly outside of the trajectory of the car. What happened to the other angle? I think the other angle probably stops filming because they got scared or panicked or something. So I suspect I had not seen it before, and that's the reason why they're not showing it. Or maybe they might go back to it. I don't know. I don't know what happened to the other angle, but that's my suspicion. Look at that.
We see the other agent pull back from the SUV. Both of them stumble, apparently slipping on the ice. This is also the moment many have said looks like Agent Ross getting run over. And it does when watched at full speed. But looking more closely, we can see in multiple angles that there's a visible gap between the vehicle and his legs, indicating his feet are positioned outside the SUV's path.
But you literally see it. You fucking see it. You see it in every angle, even the angles from behind where both of his feet, when he fires the first shot, are outside of the trajectory of the vehicle, okay? The vehicle is traveling in a different direction. He leans into the car. Why do we even argue if he ran her over or not? She shouldn't have shot her anyway. You mean he shouldn't have shot her anyway? Yes, he shouldn't have shot her regardless. He shouldn't have actually approached the car from the front. All of these things are true. But the real reason why we're fucking arguing on this is because this is such a breaking of reality, a fracturing of reality point for so many people that I am going to consistently keep hammering this position over and over again, because it's very clear that while all those other things that you're saying are true, okay, he had no right to actually react this way, and it is a execution in fucking broad daylight. There are still people who are trying to find a way to justify it. That's why they talk about like, oh, she was licking her lips and all this shit. Where's that fucking chatter? Where's that fucking chatter that was talking about how she was licking her lips? Is he still in here? You're a dumbass weirdo. Now you know you have no excuse. She wanted to hurt that cop, biting her lip like someone going for a punch. Wait, what? Bro, I'm sorry. We can't live in a society with you. Okay, you are cattle. You are literally cattle if you genuinely are still maintaining this position when you see that she literally is avoiding him. Like, look at this. Look at this. He's leaning onto the car. Both of his feet are away from the trajectory of the car by the time he starts shooting. Here's the 2014 quote from the CBP panel that can answer Chaddo's question. In many cases, Border Patrol officers were discharging their weapons out of frustration rather than to guard their safety. It suggested that officers were purposely placing themselves in front of moving vehicles and then shooting at them. This guy didn't even fucking place himself entirely when he started blasting. He was already away from the trajectory. But even if he was directly in front of the moving vehicle and he placed himself directly in front of the moving vehicle to shoot this person and then end up shooting this person and killing them, they would be liable because they placed themselves in front of the moving vehicle. This was in 2014. Fun fact about the murder of Renee Good. One reason why CBP issued policies instructing officers not to stand in front of vehicles is because of the internal reports showing that Customs and Border Patrol officers were deliberately doing so to have an excuse to open fire. Spoilers as to why Jonathan Ross was so calm in the camera footage he took and why he was getting his gun out before Good's car made any movement. Good was dead the moment she backtalked him. He just didn't have his excuse yet. So you have two options. Stop hiding her face. Brother, I don't know how to communicate this with you, okay? She did not bite her fucking lip, you absolute sociopath. She literally said, hey, I'm not even mad at you, dude. And he got so mad about that that he literally fucking killed her in broad daylight, and you're still trying to defend it because you're a fucking animal. You are worth nothing. And this is the reason why you spend every waking moment online, because your family is embarrassed that you are affiliated with them by blood or in any way, shape, or form. You are nothing. You're not even an animal. You're a fucking insect. And when you die one day, people will celebrate. Do you understand? Only for a moment. Only for a moment. And it'll be a fleeting thought in the second after it's done. They will go, wow. It feels like a burden has been lifted from my shoulders. I don't know why. Oh, well, it must have been the wind. Keep talking your ass about me. No, I know you. I know everything about you, Pink Buffalo 90. You are a pathetic fucking worm-like loser who has nothing in his life. So he has to lean into moments like this to project power when someone else is actually doing the power projection for you. Keep lying about her face, dumbass. I'm not lying about her face, brother. You are a fucking loser. And when you die alone, people will forget about you. Have fun. Have fun with that fucking reality. Is Chatter referring to the AI video? I don't know what video he's referring to. Thank you for the free sub. Because if what that chatter was saying is true, can you imagine? ICE agents can just be around your car, and if you fucking bite your lip, they can assassinate you. Now, if that person had a single human being that cared about him, they would probably reconsider this position. If that person had a mother, for example, right? A mother that he still talks to, a sister that he still communicates with, he would perhaps think, well, what is this argument that I'm presenting here? That if like my mom is in the vicinity of a fucking ICE agent and the ICE agent assumes that she's biting her lip, then, you know, it's over for her. It's time for her to be assassinated. Sorry. What a psychotic fucking attitude to openly demonstrate. This is what I'm saying. Not only do we no longer have consensus reality, but because of how isolated and how alienated we are in this increasingly atomized reality that we've concocted on the internet, people don't have the capacity to feel shame. This is something that is so shameful that even the grossest fucking loser would probably feel bad about revealing. Okay? Man is a social animal after all. And because the only socialization that these people are experiencing is on the internet, they get to demonstrate antisocial behavior such as this one. This is why I always stress the importance of touching grass. Like, the argument that he's presenting is she bit her lip and therefore she should be killed. Like, what a psychotic fucking thing to say with no care or consideration to what this means for a grand design. Is that a society that you want to live in, where cops or ICE agents, which are not even real cops, can just kill you when you're in your fucking car and you bit your lip? Really? Lip biting indicates wanting to murder someone? I didn't even see the fucking lip biting, and I don't even think that it's happening. That's something that he fantasized. But even if it was real, can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine? That's justification. Like, Your Honor, I'm the legal counsel for Jonathan Ross, ICE agent Jonathan Ross, and I have an open and shut case here. Let my man go. She was biting her lip. You would get fucking thrown in prison after that. She was frowning at him, Your Honor.
Legs, indicating his feet are positioned outside the SUV's path. Agent's left hand is still against the vehicle and gripping his phone. We see as he fires, it's recording the clouds and the trees overhead. It's not because the agent is knocked to the ground. The other angle shows he's still standing, continuing to maintain his grip on his phone and his gun, and we see a clear and growing gap between his body and the SUV as he fires a second shot and a third. None of the bullets have the effect of stopping the SUV.
Arguments have devolved so much. Like back in the day, they would be like, well, he has a gun or she has a gun, right? Oh, I was in fear for my life. He actually was not complying with commands. That's a devolution from like having a gun. Nowadays is she was biting her fucking lip. What the hell?
But they kill Renee Good. According to our analysis of audio from Agent Ross's...
These dumbasses are so brain broken. How do we fix this? You don't have to. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to associate yourself with that. You don't have to be around that. Those people only exist on the internet. I need you to understand. The average person, no matter how hog-like they are, the average person doesn't operate like that. And I need you to understand, like, most normies, if you were to have a sincere conversation in a larger friend group and a guy like this who was like maybe an Asmongold fan who never revealed that they were an Asmongold fan until that very moment, if they said something like that, it's over. They're getting isolated from that friend group. Straight up. I know that some of you have parents that are brain broken by AI, Facebook, and a bunch of different things, so you think like every other person feels this way. It's not the case. I promise you it's not the case. And there's polling to indicate that it's not the case anyway. You got a fucking majority of Americans saying abolish ICE, okay? It's clearly not the fucking case. It's not. You got at most 20% of society that will unconditionally eat whatever fucking propaganda. That Buffalo dude came in 3 hot days ago asking if you respect the Bible. Bro, starting to have some specific opinions about Hasanabi, and I clocked that shit. That dude is far gone now. No, that guy is done. That guy already killed his brain. What remains of his brain cells, he already fucking melted. Okay? You don't have to deal with that person. And also, that person is cattle anyway. Jiggle some fucking keys in front of him, and he's going to get scared. Who gives a fuck? That person does not have object permanence. You don't have to deal with every single person. I will exhaust all options, and I will try to communicate with people. Okay? I will try to communicate with people to the best of my ability, but there are obviously going to be some fucking people that you can't, you can't convince. That person's brain is fucking jello. It's over. You can't save everybody. Okay? The Roach Dumpster called you a loser. Exactly. This is what I mean. Okay? Guy who is like genuinely repulsive, genuinely disgusting, turns around and calls me a loser. I fucking welcome that, dude. What do you mean? You have repulsive views and you're a repulsive person. When you say I'm a bad guy, I wear that as a fucking badge of honor. Okay? I wear that as a badge of honor. No, I know. Well, I'm just saying, is that bad? No, it's not. It's great. It's fucking awesome.
Cell phone video. This is his reaction.
Fucking bitch. What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
According to a White House spokesperson, Agent Ross, quote, suffered internal bleeding after he was struck by the car.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Later that evening, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said that he had been treated at a local hospital and released.
Did Ross make sure to check that she was dead and then leave? Yeah, we have more ICE agent fuckery, by the way. Donald Trump cares about people like me. Disagree, 66%, up 6%. Agree, 33%, minus 7%. This is why I say, like, there's 20% in the cult and then 13% who are still too stupid to recognize. But those numbers are dwindling every day. Those numbers are hemorrhaging every single fucking day. Here's another testament to how the attitude shift is so real. Jerry rigs everything, okay? This guy used to be an outspoken libertarian. It took him 1 year for him to ask if he could join the fucking Black Panther Party in armed resistance against the federal government, okay? Please. That's where the fuck we're at right now. That's where we're at. He's responding to clip compilations about, aura farming Black Panther Party affiliates in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia specifically, going, can I join, please? Can a white boy with motion join the Black Panther Party? Come on, man. Come on now. Are you sure it's not a can a white guy say the N-word spinoff? Fuck no, man. What the hell is this sinister attitude that you have, dude? Why are you so cynical? No, that's not what's going on. Meanwhile, you didn't ask to join, which is exactly what FD was talking about. Exactly. No, he's a free Palestine advocate. No, I know. I'm talking about his radical transformation that has taken place. Yes, Gaza awakened something in many people, okay? And Jerry Riggs Everything was one of those guys. I know. I saw it happen. I saw it change in real time. I saw the trajectory. Yeah, he fucking dropped the Cybertruck. He hates Elon Musk now. January 14th, I no longer own a Cybertruck. Why did you sell it? It's just not my style. I was in the negative about you for a good while, brainwashed or not, but I see you for what you are now, and it feels great to have your voice on these issues now. You speak a lot of sense. Hell yeah, chatter. Thank you for your charitability. Thank you for your open-mindedness. That's the only thing I demand of people, okay? That's the only thing I demand of you is to be charitable. That's it.
To start in Minneapolis this morning, where President Trump is threatening to crack down on protests with the U.S. military. The president says if demonstrations against his immigration policies do not end soon, he could invoke the Insurrection Act, a rarely used 18th century law. And overnight, we got new details about Renee Good's injuries, including where she was shot and what the first responders found when they arrived. Our chief correspondent, Matt Gutman, is on the front lines of the protest and the crackdown in Minneapolis this morning.
Skirmishes between protesters and federal law enforcement seeming to intensify Thursday.
You can see federal officials trying to control the crowd here, moving people back. There appears to be a log jam. Okay?
That photographer pushed to the ground.
Get back up! Back up!
And federal agents pinning down this protester, appearing to shove their head into the concrete before marching them into the Whipple Federal Building, a battleground since the surge of about 3,000 federal law enforcement into the Twin Cities over the last several weeks.
They have just deployed across the street to try to push this crowd back.
Earlier, we were there as officers blasted protesters with chemical agents at point-blank range.
I'm going to repeat my position one more time clearly for all to see and for all to understand, okay? If you're a fascist, I want you to become a liberal. If you're a liberal, I want you to become a socialist, okay? That's it. I'll take it. If you're a fascist and you turn into a liberal, that's fine. That's still better, okay? I would love for you to be a socialist, and eventually I hope you will. But that's my goal. Okay, my goal is to pull people away from the throes of right-wing radicalization. If you're a socialist, I want you to be a part of the vanguard. I want you to engage in labor militancy and organizing. Rosa Stagist Lamau. Asman did a great job over the last few days to pull people towards the left, really? I think so. I think there is that too. I think he's so fucking aggressive with his commentary and how fucking like Ameribrained he is. I want to live in a world where the left is communist and the right is social democrats. Yes, exactly. Asman makes more leftists than you ever will. Fine, I'll take it. That's awesome. Hell yeah. I hope. Do you have any worries that pushing this hard against him will cause him and his audience to calcify in these right-wing positions? No, because the ones who have hardened positions will always seek out, right-wing commentary. But there's plenty who are just there for the vibes. Okay, there are a lot of people there for the vibes, and sooner, just as I promise, no matter how much you fucking shit on me, there will come a day when you will realize that there's an issue that you care about, an issue that you have personally been wronged by, and you will come in here and you will see me fighting for you, and you'll realize perhaps I was wrong. The exact opposite will happen with Asmongold. One day, if you're a European right-winger who's LARPing as like a fucking MAGA supporter in Asmongold's chat, one day you will hear him talk about Greenland and how it's justifiable to fucking annex Greenland, and you'll go, oh my God, I had no idea that this is how he thought about me. Okay? That's it. That's it. There will come a day when you go, okay, maybe this is a bridge too far. It could be when you watch him defend an ICE agent shoot a 37-year-old woman that could easily be your neighbor in the face. Like, there will be a day where he says something that is utterly repulsive. Now, for me, that very same thing exists as well. Okay? It's usually when it comes to foreign policy. My foreign policy positions are utterly repulsive to Western chauvinists. That's just the truth. Western chauvinists who are conditioned into believing that the American hegemonic superpower status is actually the perfect design for the world. Those who fear any sort of multipolar universe will always fucking hear what I have to say and go, oh, I don't have the proper term yet to disparage your worldview. And then they learn it's tanky or campist or whatever the fuck, a third worldist, right? But I know that what you're saying doesn't sit right with me because I'm fearful of the world, the grand design that you have for the world. Okay? That's it. That's what it is. For me, it's rarely ever domestic policies. It will never be domestic policies. Most people will understand that I'm, at the end of the day, even if they are kind of fearful of what I'm representing, because they worry about like what insurance will look like in a socialist healthcare policy, right? Like they might worry about that a little bit, but they understand that sooner rather than later that the way that the current design is working is not actually working for them at all, right? But when it comes to foreign policy, a lot of people take their sweet ass time to come to terms with what I'm fucking talking about. Only time I ever felt like that was like 5 years ago when you went on a rant about PhDs. Yes, my whole family are PhDs. I'm fucking joking, okay? It's not serious. Sometimes I fucking joke. Let me joke, please.
This latest eruption of violence comes after a Venezuelan migrant.
I work in data analytics, primarily job market. You can't see that in the official stats, but you guys went so back over the last 12 months. I saw someone writing a report on how the hemorrhaging of the workforce, even in places like in VCs and like hedge funds, and what that spelled for the future of America, and how like that was the one sector that was constantly engaging in job growth. Everything is growing besides US. Yeah, I mean, we're shrinking. It is bleak. It's definitely bleak. At least we have growth in ICE though, Yes, I know that Renee still had a pulse when first responders arrived, by the way. 2 gunshots to the torso, 1 to the hand. ICE let her bleed out. And they had to walk. The EMTs had to walk to the location and carry her. And they did not render her aid at all initially.
Who immigration officials say is
5% GDP growth is shrinking. We're talking about the overall economy for the average person. You have to be joking, 26-month subscriber. 5% GDP growth because of 3 or 4 companies that are just like shifting around the same $100 billion is not actually helping anybody. No, I'm not going to tell the GDP joke again. I'm not going to tell you the joke about how 2 economists are walking in the woods and they encounter dog shit while they're walking in the woods. Economist 1 says to economist 2, "Hey, I'll give you $100 if you eat this dog shit that's on the ground." Economist 2 says yes, eats the dog shit, takes $100. They keep walking. They encounter another piece of dog shit in the woods. Economist number 2, freshly $100 richer, points to the economist number 1 and says, "Hey, if you eat this dog shit, then I'll give you this $100. Okay, I'll give you this new $100 that I just got." Economist number 2 says yeah, or economist number 1 says yes, eats the dog shit. They keep walking. They think to themselves as they leave the forest, what the fuck purpose did this serve? We both ate dog shit, and the $100 went from your hand to mine and then back to your hand. Economist number 1 says, but the GDP grew by $200. Okay? End joke. Now do the CIA KGB propaganda joke? No, I'm not. Every time I end a joke, I'm going to say end joke. Thank you for not telling the joke. I fucking hate that joke. Exactly. That one and the KGB CIA agent jokes, I'm just going to keep repeating them over and over again until I get better. Thank you, Senator. I was confused why a man universally known as a gay pedophile would fly to Israel. I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head at Ayub Lovely. Much disdain. All right, let's continue. Okay.
In the country illegally was shot in the leg by a federal agent during an arrest Wednesday night, prompting hours of clashes. And overnight, new documents obtained by CBS News Minnesota revealing the extent of Renee Good's injuries. According to the Minneapolis Fire Department incidents report, Good suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the chest, one in the forearm, and also suffered a wound to the head.
Can I go check a pulse? No.
The report shows paramedics arrived 5 minutes after she was shot by ICE agent Jonathan Ross. Medics found Good unresponsive, but with...
No, it's not 4 shots total. She suffered a head wound. And I think it's because she, after she was shot and lost control of the vehicle and then hit the other 2 vehicles, she probably hit her head. So I assume it's from the car crash. So it's 2 gunshots to the chest and 1 to the forearm.
Pulse. They attempted life-saving efforts on the scene and in the ambulance to the hospital.
By the way, that's the CBS morning specialty here. Oh, did they? They attempted. Wait, hold on.
Good unresponsive.
Medics found Renee Good unresponsive. There was a good deal of stuff that took place here as well. Hold on.
Can I go check a pulse? No.
The report shows paramedics arrived 5 minutes.
They literally showed the fucking
An incidents report. CBS News Minnesota revealing the extent of Renee Good's injuries.
They literally show it, but they don't commentate over it? Wait, well, hold
According
on.
to the Minneapolis Fire Department incidents report, Good suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the chest, one in the forearm, and also suffered a wound to the head.
Can I go check a pulse? No.
The report shows paramedics arrived.
Wow. So you put the clip in, but it's just B-roll, right? There's no need to do commentary over the fact that they literally refused to render aid, stopped someone who was a doctor, who was a physician, from actually rendering aid, and then also blocked the street so the paramedics took 5 minutes to fucking get there on foot.
5 minutes after she was shot by ICE agent Jonathan Ross, medics found Good unresponsive, but with irregular
They just happened to be there, I guess. They materialized out of fucking thin air. Very cool.
They attempted life-saving efforts.
CBS News, by the way, the greatest name in Israel news, okay? The greatest name in Israeli news is CBS News, brought to you by Mossad's favorite agent, Barry Weiss.
On the scene and in the ambulance to the hospital, where she was eventually pronounced dead.
I love watching Israel
after
news.
A week of chaos here. Cameras captured vandals smashing this federal vehicle, then pulling boxes out of it. President Trump now threatening to send in the U.S. military into the Twin Cities.
President Trump has said that he would invoke the Insurrection Act and that would crush the protests here.
She was shot in the head. The report says it. CBS trying to be Fox. Wait, really? Like,
your take?
That would probably lead to more violence. We're not going to back down. I mean, that's much bull.
And now, new cell phone video shared by a Minnesota state senator appears to show a new account in the aftermath of the federal officer's shooting of the Venezuelan man. A woman calling 911 and pleading for help. The Department of Homeland Security has said the suspect initially fled and that he and 2 others then allegedly used a shovel and a broom handle to attack the agent who fired in self-defense.
We've learned that both that federal officer and the suspect are going to be okay. Now, the FBI has offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of stolen government property. That was that vandalized vehicle. And they have also announced that they have arrested 1 person. That, as we are told by organizers, to expect additional protests today and through the weekend here. Back to you.
All right, Matt Gutman on the ground for us in Minneapolis.
All right, we gotta talk about the top orbiter mod. Okay, Destiny fan and Reddit live stream fail moderator Stale 2000 has been removed as the top mod of the subreddit after promoting scam contest $1 million fan. He has posted a video demanding legal support from the CEO of Reddit. The full video is 21 minutes long.
Hello.
And a bunch of people are watching it. We have to fucking talk about this. Okay, this is Stale, former Twitch staff Stale. He used to work at Twitch. And also, not only that, but, Omega Destiny Orbiter, looking and sounding exactly exactly how you would assume a Reddit moderator, like a perma Reddit moderator would look like. Okay, bro, it's such a good performance art piece. Yeah, so here's what happened. Okay, looks hotter than I would have expected. Facts. So this guy ran and won, I believe, top orbiter of the year inside of DGG. This is a real thing that they do every year, and I think he made a video for it. We found out that he had made a video for it a while back, and he deleted the video in shame. But basically what happened is this guy overtook Livestream Fails a couple years ago as the top moderator of Livestream Fails. Now, if you don't know what Livestream Fails is, it's because I never go on this website. Okay? It's because I never go on that subreddit any longer. It used to be a subreddit where people would gather and check out the top news stories of the day, or top clips of the day from Twitch. It was a place where like a lot of Twitch watchers congregated. Obviously, there was like a heavy slant on harassing certain villains on the subreddit. Alinity, one of them. Pokimane was another consistent one for years and years. But once Destiny took over the entire subreddit in this forcible takeover, they turned it directly into the Fuck Hassan subreddit. And oftentimes they would, here, this is the DGGer of the year. I don't know why we can't actually watch the video.
Hi, I'm Stale 2000, and I'm running for DGGer of the year on December the 3rd. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how all of my opponents are way worse than me, using facts, logic, and most importantly, evidence, as in chat logs. Here, Albert FCB is asking people to gift him subs. A real DGGer buys his own subs. In the month of November, Fitz spammed the Miano hype emote over 500 times. They're clearly a weeb. Need I say more? Based on the frequency of messages between BoJack Horseman and Majestic Gopher, who is another candidate in this election, we can see that these two candidates are clearly colluding and are therefore disqualified. From these logs, we can see that Keen is clearly too busy with his girlfriend, as well as worse, his real friends, to be DGGer of the year. Everybody knows that a DGGer's only true friend is Destiny. Other DGG analysts suggest that Majestic Gopher would be the best candidate to win the election because he averages 300 messages a day. But as mentioned previously, he was colluding, and these numbers are clearly fake. Rave Y is unethically supporting NFT projects. A true DGGer should know that the only ethical NFT project is those offered by our lovely sponsors at eternal.gg, where you can buy and sell Destiny's personal NFTs. The DJ suggests that the jury of the Rittenhouse trial should not talk about the case while it's in recess. But how is the jury supposed to know what to think if they haven't heard Destiny's opinion on the matter? As we all know, Destiny has the food palate of a 10-year-old. And a 10-year-old would love to have mac and cheese at Thanksgiving, but Tony disagrees. Therefore, he's in contradiction with Destiny and does not deserve to win this competition. Here, Yufu complains about running into alt-writers in a video game. A real DGGer would have defeated those alt-writers in the marketplace of ideas and in the video game. Vault violated my boundary of running against me for DGGer of the year. Therefore, he must lose to satisfy my boundary. Virgil suggests that Destiny could be inconsistent on anything. A deserving DGGer would know that Destiny is always consistent on all his positions. Will Kill Forever admits to having a job. No truly dedicated DGGer could work a job and dedicate themselves enough to DGG to be deserving of winning this competition.
You got to sometimes see the ops, you know? Sometimes you got to take a good, hard look at the ops, okay? Lucky for us, some of our ops openly fucking post videos of themselves on the internet. No, this is not satire. This is a person who is in the DGG cult that is actively trying to win this award as the greatest cult member for that year. I forget which year this is. Okay? But the reason why I'm showing you all of this is because this is the guy at the direction and at the behest of Destiny in order to serve his master, his cult leader, took over Livestream Fails and turned it into a smear machine. Okay? For not only myself, but all of Destiny's ops. Now, back in the day, he used to be a fan of mine as well. And even up until 2024, he was in the chat too. He said, nah, I prefer renting. I just want to be able to move wherever I want. I don't want all that money in one asset. Okay? Somewhere along the line, somewhere along this long, convoluted history, he took over Livestream Fails after leaving Twitch and started moderating it in direction of like besmirching, smearing all of Destiny's opponents, deleting comments that called out Destiny for procuring child sexual abuse material, and regularly brigading posts, regularly botting certain posts. Okay? What is this? Look at the YouTube banner. His YouTube banner is him in Austin. That's hilarious. Okay? And he's made some videos, you know, over the years. He's made, this last video that he made is the one that's like going super viral right now. Not on YouTube, but just everywhere else where people are clowning on him. And chat tries to comprehend that these weirdos always have self-deprecating inside jokes that they're proud of, their issues, because it makes them feel different from normies. That's all. Yes. Thank you. You actually literally analyzed it perfectly. A lot of these guys know that they're in a cult or a cult-like formation. They just make jokes such as that one to be like, haha, it's not a real cult because we're aware of it. Okay? A big part of this is also making those self-deprecating jokes about like, oh, we know everything about Destiny. All this shit. Right? But the reason why I'm, again, bringing this up is because he took over a very popular subreddit and played a formative role in the collapse of like Twitch as a space where there was a major community that collaborated with one another, greatly fucking heightening the tensions between content creators. Like we talk about clippers and clip farmers in general on Twitter. LSF was the method. It was the original place where that exact same thing happened, where you would take someone's clip out of context and you would have every single content creator watch it and give their takes on it. And then every single thing that would drive discourse would come from LSF. I don't go to LSF any longer. I don't, frequent LSF any longer because it's just all botted into oblivion and brigaded into oblivion. But they did this, and now Yeet does this on Twitter as well in a similar fashion. But they did this to go after Destiny's enemies and to try and present Destiny in a positive light to the best of their ability, even though he kept, fucking up his, he kept fucking up his own optics by popping off and doing horrible, monstrous things. Also, Stale and Epstein's Discord already confirmed nothing about LSF will change, and all the other mods on the team are also Epstein orbiters, as Stale is the one that hired them. Yeah. A while back, there were a bunch of different people that were actually moderators in the subreddit. Once he took over, he basically kicked out all of the people that voted against him becoming the top moderator of the subreddit. And then he hired a bunch of other moderators to operate the subreddit that were also Destiny's fans. So as far as I understand, the LSF subreddit is not going to change. Okay?
Suggest
we do the same thing with you, bro. There is nothing that even remotely compares to this level of propaganda, specifically at the behest of one singular individual. Nothing at all. There is no comparison. You cannot point to a single subreddit that like my fans have taken over with my direction and use a subreddit specifically to like attack people. There is no equivalent because this is insane. It's so insane that if you were to actually explain to people what is going on here, they still have a hard time understanding it. This is the type of shit that is impossible for even like extremely online people to understand because this is a step beyond that. This is Kiwi farms. It's lol cowing. Okay? For a content creator that actually basically derives most of his content from trying to create oppositional figures and constantly contest them. Something that Ethan Klein does as well to a certain degree, but something that Destiny eats off of forever. This is his primary focus. This is his primary content. If anything, my fucking community is my biggest op. Okay? This video explains the psychology behind this kind of behavior really well.
The exact same thing.
Okay, I'm not going to get into that right now, but what I was trying to explain, okay? What I was trying to explain here is that basically this guy utilized the subreddit livestream fails for his own purpose, for his favorite content creator Destiny's own purpose, and, you know, banned a bunch of people from the subreddit and consistently botted and brigaded certain posts against Destiny's enemies over and over again. In many instances, leaned into like, you know, propaganda that was pro-Israel because Destiny's pro-Israel. Like, I don't even know what this person's like, if this guy has his own opinion on things outside of what Destiny believes, but like his primary purpose on LSF was to, you know, whoever was saying like, fuck Hassan's a terrorist, he would boost it, right? A Stalk, 2024 DGGer of the Year, was head of the Hassan bad propaganda with Dan Stalkman. Even he says all of it was bullshit. Stale was too deep in the cult. Yeah, JSTLK was the previous DGGer of the Year, and now I think he is one of the orbiters who actually turned on Destiny and is actively trying to pull people out of said cult, if I'm not mistaken. I think many of those guys still have like resentment towards me as well, but slowly but surely, some people have awakened from the really toxic way that this cult operates, and have realized that maybe Destiny wasn't the person that he presented himself as. Dan Saltman is the money behind this operation. Jesus, they have alumni? Yes, they do. But in any case, the reason why all of this unfolded and he lost his cherished, coveted position as the top moderator of this live stream fails subreddit, and this is one of the previous moderators of the subreddit, Gisephus, who was ousted from his position when this guy took over. He has also openly stated that the rest of the mod team is still his guys and is openly taunting the Reddit admins. My guess is more mods will be removed. Yeah, the thing is, Reddit knows exactly what's going on. Like Reddit, the actual company, knows LSF is doing this kind of stuff, right? And for the longest time, they haven't actually punished them for brigading, botting, using it as a vehicle for harassment against specific content creators. Part of the reason why they haven't done so is because it drives a lot of traffic, right? It drives a lot of traffic to the website. It keeps people engaged on the website, so they don't really do anything, especially because people don't actually push back too hard on it, right? Because as long as you come after someone like myself and you keep doing that over and over again, you keep doing this like harassment operation over and over again, it's almost like a self-isolated situation. We had a good thing going. We raised $40K for mental health. Yeah. In any case, if there's clicks, then they're happy with it, even though they had a tendency to overlook certain things that he was doing, like, for example, operating a mirror system where he would mirror clips and then he would actually run ads on the website where he would mirror clips and therefore make money off of the subreddit this way. I think it's a violation of the terms of service. But again, if you're a large enough subreddit, you can do some scams like this without Reddit actually getting too mad. Okay? Have you noticed that every Roach King post is botted? Negative instant downvote and positive upvoted? Yes. This is something that other people that use Reddit frequently have noticed as well. Anywhere around the website, if there is a negative, if there's something that presents Asmongold in a negative light, it instantly gets botted. It bot downvoted. If there's anything that presents him in a positive light, it instantly gets upvoted. The thing is, that's not even Asmongold's doing, though. That's Kick. It's Kick. Kick does that. Kick also heavily upvotes all the LSF posts. It's not an accident that so many random streamers that are associated with Kick or are Kick streamers have been frequently upvoted on on LSF over and over again. Anyway, like I said, it doesn't matter. He does a 21-minute video. There's full details of the scam and his removal that was covered on another subreddit called Subreddit Drama. Popular subreddit livestream fail mods and mythic talent streamers were promoting a shady website and contest, and users were not having it. Then contest website and social media was erased, and the head moderator was removed. Popular streamer Extra Emily, among other streamers from the Mythic Talent Agency, which Asmongold owns, by the way, I'm pretty sure, right? Isn't that talent agency that Asmongold owns? Started promoting a website and contest called $1 Million Fan. He's a part owner of it. $1 Million Fan.show, now gone, but can be seen here, with a $20 million prize pool. Subreddit Livestream Fail head mod created a post promoting and sponsoring the website and contest here. This post was now removed, right? It was locked and removed by the moderator. The user started saying after some quick research that this looked like a scam, and the moderator removed the comments criticizing the contest. Popular YouTube personality Moist Critical made a video about the website and the content itself, calling it "feels like a scam." He pointed out this content raised a ton of red flags. The main image was AI generated, said the prize pool is absurdly big with no idea who's hosting the content. Who's hosting the contest, and the sponsors are mostly unknown or downright fake.
Yeah, I'm in a bucket hat.
Shouts out to Charlie. Shouts out to Moist Critical, by the way. Still calling balls and strikes. You know, I'm happy that he's out there doing the damn thing. Sponsors are mostly unknown or downright fake. The concept is fans submitting clips, and they get chosen to go to a mansion to participate with their streamer in an IRL contest, and you can also buy entries via the website. Another post is created in the subreddit where the users criticize Extra Emily and the livestream fail moderators. A few hours later, the website and all social media for the contest were removed or closed without any notice. Okay? $1 Million Fan MDF reality show, a show promoted by Livestream Fail along with several creators from Mythic Talent, has seemingly deleted their Discord, closed their Twitter account, and had the LSF mod delete the promotion. This after one of the creators involved, Extra Emily, claimed she had no idea what she was promoting and did zero research on it. Many had asked her whether this was a scam. The rapid deletion of everything feels like there may indeed have been something nefarious going on here. So let's watch the Charlie video on this 3 days ago.
I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. Now, a buddy of mine just sent me something that I can promise you no one's having fun with except the people that were paid to promote it.
Yeah, there's a new video that he uploaded about the Reddit mod as well, which we will watch as well after we watch the Reddit mod himself.
It is called $1 Million Fan.
I gotta pee.
It is a show which is pitching a $20 million prize pool for what seems to be a load of horseradish. And in case you were wondering, yes, that is an AI mansion on their front page of this contest. At least from everything I can tell, it's an AI-generated mansion, which immediately should let you know that you're dealing with some high-quality content here. No reason not to trust that. I can't believe anybody would be pitched this and actually think it's legitimate. Like, it takes 3 seconds of looking on their website to smell the poop. It is unbelievably foul. Like, there is no world where this happens. To put in perspective that prize number, $20 million, that is significantly more than Mr. Beast's Amazon show and would make it by far the highest grand prize pool in any kind of, like, reality game show history, pretty much. All for what I believe to be terrible concept for a show as well, about streamers' fans submitting clips and then, I guess, going to a mansion or something. I'm still a little confused because the information they offer is just fucking nonsensical. Like, I feel like I have to be on Fint to even begin to process the words that I'm reading and what is supposed to be a contest. So I want to go through this. I want to really get into the weeds here, because this is mind-bogglingly stupid. This is a special kind of scam that I just can't even picture someone falling for. Yet, some streamers have publicly promoted it. I'm assuming they were paid to do so by their talent agency, who was approached by whoever's behind the $1 Million Fan show to do this. So I imagine some people buy into it, which I can't wrap my noodle around that. This is like the Fire Festival of streamer shows, but even more outrageously fucking dumb. They have a streamers section here, and I'm guessing they were all paid to endorse this, and I know in Extra Emily's case, she just had a statement on her stream after her community was letting her know that they believe she had just promoted a scam to them with hawking $1 million fan club. So we'll go over her statement here towards the end of the video. Checking in on the About Us section offers more questions than answers. It's so fucking useless here. You get about as much lore here as you do for the old Urgot League of Legends write-up, where it basically just said Urgot has a dark and mysterious past. So $1 Million Fan is a high-stakes reality television competition built around one simple idea: the fans deserve a seat at the table. Created at the intersection of modern creator culture and large-scale unscripted entertainment, $1 Million Fan brings everyday fans face-to-face with the creators they support, competing together in real-world challenges for life-changing prizes. This is not a meet and greet, and it's not passive fandom. It's participation, pressure, and performance. This feels like it's an AI-generated About Us section. Each season pairs selected fans with major online creators in a fully produced, on-location competition environment. Contestants are tested physically, mentally, and strategically across a series of escalating challenges designed to reward adaptability, teamwork, and resilience. The result is a show that feels authentic, unpredictable, and genuinely earned. $1 Million Fan is produced with the same standards as top-tier television professional crews, rigorous safety protocols, transparent rules, and a clear separation between entertainment and fair competition. No purchase is required to apply or enter. Fan participation pathways are designed to be accessible, compliant, and audience-first. At its core, $1 Million Fan exists to redefine the relationship between creators and their communities. Fans are no longer just viewers, they are competitors. Creators are no longer just personalities, they are teammates. Every moment is rooted in real stakes, real people, and real outcomes. This is reality television built for the internet generation, bigger, bolder, and centered on the people who made creator culture possible in the first place. So who the fuck are you, by the way? This is the About Us section, but you've only told us, like, I guess the elevator pitch on the show. Who is putting this on?
How do people fall for this? I mean, if the talent agency is giving money to content creators and they don't give a shit, I decided to be more vocal about free Palestine IRL, and my local convenience store owner gave me a big hug and cried today. Thanks for advocacy and help me wake the fuck up. Thank you. You're welcome, Chatter. I'm proud of you. The site domains were bought a few months ago and only indexed by archivers the day after it launched. They only bought the domain for a year. All of them were registered outside the US, likely EU. Yeah, it's fine. I have a typo on my Twitch. I can't fucking edit it, unfortunately.
$20 million coming from? Who is the professional television crew here working on this? Like, this is not providing any actual information about the team behind $1 Million Fan. That should immediately raise some red flags that they're not front-facing with who is even putting this on in the first place or where this prize purse is coming from. Their About Us section is fundamentally just like a high schooler that's cramming for a summer reading book report where they're trying to meet the word count. This should immediately be raising red flags and have you ask.
I'm going to be fair and balanced and say something controversial. In the era where so many of the tricksters and con men engage in NFT scams and shitcoins, I like a good deal. I like to see an old-fashioned one, you know? Even if it's being conducted entirely by all of the most repulsive figures online who fucking despise me. I just gotta say, fair is fair. I've said time and time again, I love old-fashioned scams, okay? And this is a more old-fashioned scam, you know? This grimy Reddit moderator loser is doing scams the old-fashioned way, okay? Good old hustle. Good old hustle, baby. Yeah, this 97-year-old grifter still runs scams the old-fashioned way, and I fucking love that.
Asking some questions like, why are they not being more forward with who is behind this? Is it the fucking Rockefellers? Like, whose identity are they protecting? The Elusive Man or something from Mass Effect? Like, where is this coming from? Who is putting this on and who is putting this together? This About Us section is nothing but meaningless fluff gobbledygook that doesn't actually answer anything or provide any real valuable information about this production and who's responsible for it. And then when you go further to their partners section, they have like a couple of brands listed here. Their 3 listed affiliates are Malwarebytes, Hide Me, and then that mystery affiliate in the middle there is StubHub. have to click on it to find that information out. I was a little nervous that I was about to have my fucking identity stolen or something, clicking on a random image from a sketchy website that links me to something outside of it. And their proud partners section actually had me laugh out loud, audibly giggling, not just blowing air out of my nose. I literally laughed a hearty ho 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 like Santa Claus when I saw live stream fail is listed as a proud partner of $1 Million Fan. And so I went to the live stream fail, and they actually even had a big post announcing this to try and get people to sign up for it. So I guess they're like an official partner of $1 Million Fan.
Do you guys want to know another fucking insane thing about this Reddit moderator, by the way? A while back when Destiny got into legal trouble for, filming people that he was having sex with without their consent and filming people that he was having sex with their consent. And then that whole ordeal took place. And then some of the victims sued Destiny. And in the process of that court case, they found out that Destiny had actually procured child sexual abuse material from an underage girl. When all that stuff was happening and everyone was obviously clowning on him for they're calling him a pedophile, calling him a sex pest and stuff like that. This moderator that we were talking about, Stale, right? That moderator realized that it was very difficult for Destiny to find allies on the internet. Okay? And what's so crazy about this is he was so high on the amount of influence that he felt like he commanded because he was the top moderator of live stream fails, okay, that he actually tried to find within Destiny's community other content creators that he could hype up by utilizing LSF, okay? Straight up. He was like, I want to find someone in Destiny's community to make famous with live stream fails as a mechanism to like promote them. So the person that they went after, the person that he found was some other random content creator. Okay. I forget what they're called. I think, no, it wasn't Lonerbox. Lonerbox didn't work. Hutch didn't work. They tried to like promote Hutch a lot. They tried to promote Lonerbox a lot and it didn't fucking work. And I think the name was what? Food Shops. There was this content creator that was in DGG, Destiny's Cult, named Food Shops. Okay. And his theory was that if he promotes people that aren't like directly related to Destiny, that he could have more allies. Here it is. I mean, there's a full 11-minute video on this.
Okay. Even better. So the short story.
Everyone go make clips or whatever and post them on LSF. The top mod of that subreddit really wants it for some reason. I don't know. Post a clip a day and I'll play it on stream if it's interesting. I don't know. This guy really wants it, but post it on the hashtag clips and it would be chill. Also, it would piss off Hassan and other streamers. Okay. And the reason why they wanted to present this person as like a new content creator was twofold. One, because they wanted to see if they could just like make another popular content creator just off of this subreddit alone, right? And the other reason was because Destiny was running out of orbiters and running out of like content creators that have at least their own organic audiences because they were all literally attacking him because he fucked all of his orbiters and then fucked them over and, and fucked his orbiters' girlfriends, you know what I mean? Like, he was just a horrible monster, right? To so many of these other people inside of this fucking literal cult that some of the members of said cult were like, okay, this is a bridge too far, right? How you got haters you don't know about? Oh, dude, come on. I have so many fucking haters that I don't know about. So that was the reason, because he was like, there's too much stink associated with Destiny. We need new people to defend him, okay? We need new people to defend him, so we'll just find someone within the community, prop them up, present them as like new content creators that are not like directly associated with Destiny to defend Destiny on LSF. 117 is when he starts talking about it.
So the short story is I am looking to see if it's possible to like artificially create like a drama champion. And I want to use.
No, come on. What? Why? What's up?
The short answer is like, do you have like clip style content? What I want to do is I want to see if it's possible to like take a streamer and post like a clip a day of like some drama related content to Livestream Fail, and I want to see like what that does. You know, Livestream Fail gets millions of views every day, even for like the small clips. And I don't know, because you were like blowing up in DGG, and so I thought like, okay, the audience would kind of like you, and it's like cool content that's tangential to Destiny, but not Destiny. Basically, I'm trying to diversify the content in Livestream.
Did I even remotely exaggerate this, by the way? My summarization is almost verbatim. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he was saying, but like that guy that we were just looking at, the subreddit owner here, okay? That's the one who's talking to, these are both people in Destiny's cult, and they're talking to one another. You left out details. She is an admitted pedophile. Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's also that as well. Apparently, this person got outed as a pedophile. Yeah. So the guy that, like the person that the subreddit owner was trying to highlight as, in his words, not mine, drama champion, turns out that they were a pedophile, which is, you know, I guess it is what it is. So it didn't really work. It didn't really work. It didn't work at all. Not outed, they admitted it. Okay. She self-admitted. Well, it turns out there are ops that I don't even know exist out there, but one thing is a guarantee. They are going to be sex criminals in some variety, some way, shape, or form. This is like the primary driving force behind almost all of my ops. You know, if you exist for a long enough timeline and you're an op of mine, you end up getting into trouble in this way somehow. I don't know why, but in any case, like I said, this is like his theory. He's trying to create like a drama champion in his own words.
Tangential to Destiny, but not Destiny. Basically, I'm trying to diversify the content in Livestream.
I don't get what you're proposing. Are you saying like?
Do you have clip style content? I'm proposing your audience makes 30-second clips and post one clip a day to Livestream Fail.
No,
you don't want to
is there content like that of me out there? I mean, I guess like whenever I make fucking weird sounds into the microphone, they clip that. But like outside of that, there is.
Anyway, so that also didn't work. But the reason why I showed you that is not only because it's like another perfect point of evidence that shows you how this guy operates, right? This guy's stale, how he operates, and how he's using the subreddit for like a very specific purpose, to you know, help Destiny out in whichever ways he can. But the other reason why I showed you this is because it kind of gives you an understanding of what his mentality is, like the God complex that he developed off of like a crumb of influence that he was wielding, I guess. So it was only a matter of time until he got into trouble such as this. So here he is talking about the influence that he wields in Destiny's community, DGG. I don't want to be an influencer. I want to have influence. There's a difference, ... Talking like he's fucking Orochimaru or something in a online group chat that is centered around a cult around one individual content creator who was, you know, been outed for sex crimes. I don't want to be an influencer. Influencers are clowns that dance to their audiences. Instead, I want to have influence. There's a big difference. Bro, I worked at Twitch for 4 years. People there obsess over the subreddit. I have been meeting with executives about LSF. Yes, LSF matters. And yes, people in charge look at it. That's the influence I am talking about. Okay? Like, when we make jokes about like Reddit moderators and how fucking insane like the loser mentality is that moderators have sometimes, like this is a person who is living it, okay? In a community that is comprised entirely of people that actually farm karma almost professionally, even though they make no money off of it. This is a very real thing in an unfortunate dark corner of the fucking internet, okay? I like Orochimaru. Why did he compare this incel to him? Yeah, LSF mods are getting paid to promote posts and nobody talks about it. I mean, I don't know if they're also getting paid on top of that, but this has been going on for quite a while is what I'm saying. It was always an influence peddling operation. But obviously he got so full of himself that he took a shot in the dark to make some real money, and it very quickly imploded.
And I was reading the comments from like one of the mods there that was talking about it, and it seems like he's completely fucking clueless on what's even going on in regards to this whole thing. So I don't exactly understand their role in this, or like who's pulling the strings there. The puppet master at LSF that's partnering with $1 Million Fan, but the mods don't even seem to be on the same page there and don't have any real answers. Then going to IRL buffs is like going to a barren wasteland. This whole website is completely empty. It's like Squidward going to that room to be all alone. This feels like it's a prototype that was thrown together in like a handful of minutes just for the sole sake of existing on the $1 Million Show site. I'm pretty sure that's an AI generated image there as well for their products like
Yeah, every thread on LSF has an auto-stickied post, okay? Abel Ronaldo reacts to Hassan's disappointment in him collabing with Aiden Ross. Dan can't stream. Wonder what Hassan actually likes about Khamenei. Streamer gets threatened. Some real live stream fails. A lot of kick clips as well. Excuse mistakenly confuses Jewish people with the Amish. Asmongold reacts to the Democratic Senator Fetterman defending ICE. Some I show speed clips. Oh, wow. This is a lot more diverse. A lot more diverse than the last time I went on here, okay? But when you go to the actual fucking, when you go to the actual clip itself, the post itself, we don't get paid. LSF the virtue signal. What the fuck? I love you, question mark. Okay, but there is a mirror. And when you click on the mirror, it goes to a different website. And from what I understand, there's ad revenue on this website, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? This is one of the leftover DGGer mods. Ban him. I'm not going to ban him. I don't give a shit if he's in here in the chat or not. LSF the virtue signal. In any case, didn't they used to post only direct clips, links from Twitch on that subreddit before straight up posting videos that could be edited? Yes. So throughout time, they changed a bunch of the fucking rules in the subreddit. First, it was like no politics. Then they were like, okay, yes, politics. Then they banned me. I made a plea to the mods to be like, ban me, please. I'm brigading openly today, so you ban me. Did they ban me? And then obviously a lot of their fucking activity went down, so they unbanned me so they could continue the harassment. And basically to this day they've never stopped. And ultimately they changed the they changed the rules over and over again. Now you can post edited clips on there, which is why there's so many edited clips. If you recall a while ago, I was talking about the Zoran Mamdani election night because I was confused as to why so many people were coming in here and being like, oh, Zoran owned you, like he hates you, right? And I was like, the fuck are these people talking about? It turns out they edited a clip on LSF and then they bass boosted it to make it seem like I was actually, not invited to the Zoran election victory campaign party. I have a 6-hour stream where I was at the election victory campaign party, and yet everyone that only went to this fucking subreddit got a totally alternative version of events. So there are a lot of people that actually sit there and just look at this kind of stuff and don't do anything else about it. Yeah, Hutch believes he caught Hassan using a shock collar once again. Hutch is like, what, a 300 viewer content creator? 16,000 views. Okay? There was one Asmongold in here. Misgive asked Sneeko for a gambling collab. Extra Emily. XQC promotes. Young Fika stops someone from starting a fire on stream. Hassan says America's far worse than the Iranian government despite the estimates of over 12,000. Like, see, it's stuff like this. It's always stuff like this, right? Dan from Anything Else podcast calls out Extra Emily. You don't get to play dumb. Asmongold finds out how many times Kaya gets to move in a Hassan Piker broadcast. Iranian chatter calls out Hassan Piker for dehumanizing the people of Iran. Hassan proceeds to explain he's the one trying to offer freedom for the Iranian population. Look at this. Anyway, so it's obsessed. It's obsessive. It's fucking crazy. But it is by design, right? Those are all the top posts of just this week. Just this week. So I stopped looking at LSF a while ago, and I think many other streamers also have stopped looking at LSF because of this reason, because it became like a normie repellent trash fire, right? But there are still people who basically use it as an entry point into getting into Reddit r/all, okay? And that's what they still use it as. So these communities, they're not very big, but they are very active, right? They're very passionate and they're very active. But because they're not very big, they have to lean into much larger platforms. So one of the easiest ways to do that is through Reddit, which is endlessly brigadeable and very easy to like dominate a conversation around. And a lot of slop tubers actually rely on Reddit. They basically plagiarize Reddit talking points in general for many of their videos. So all the drama tubers, they look at LSF quite a bit. And that's why it ends up forming whatever kind of content they're going to make. But basically, this is what it is. This is, this is how LSF has operated for like the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, top posts this past year, number 1, number 3, number 7, number 13, number 18, number 19, number 20 are all Kaya posts. Number 9 is the fake Zoran party post. I mean, how can you look at this as anything but like a straight up harassment operation? Okay, because if you look at how people reflect on what I'm doing, right? 82,000 upvotes. If you look at like Hassan knows shot dog remote on stream, one Jack Doherty clip, Kaya's positioning throughout the entire day. Hassan takes a picture with Kaya with a fan on the streets in Ireland. Another edited video, by the way. They could have easily just posted a video from my stream, but they posted the video that's edited. Okay, Hassan gets denied VIP seating in Zoran Mamdani election stream. There is literally a time on it. Like there's a time code on it. And the time code on it specifically shows that they edited it. They chopped this video up in a way to make it seem like, I was denied entry or some shit to the Zoran Mamdani party. A party that I went to, like a party that I was at for fucking 4 hours. So Amaranth's husband, Nick, dresses up as Hassan's dog, Kaya, at TwitchCon. You need to put a time code on your face so they can't manipulate it. Brother, you just saw a video that is manipulated with the time code on screen. It doesn't matter. So the point is, I don't want to accidentally step on you, especially while I'm talking about this. The point is, like, they've been doing this for years and years and years and years, right? And it has never really stopped. It hasn't really had the impact that they wanted, right? I haven't killed myself. I haven't quit what I'm doing. My audience has not diminished at all, right? But they still keep at it because for them, it's like one day it might work. For them, or even the mere recognition that this stuff is something that I'm aware of is enough. Because at the end of the day, this is the guy running the operation, okay? And this is his attitude. I don't want to be an influencer. I want to have influence. There's a difference. For a lot of people that go on Twitch, the medium here is very different than any other form of entertainment because there's back and forth feedback. You can directly change the content that you're watching by communicating with the content creator that is delivering the entertainment. This is very new. This is very different. So there is a parasocial element associated with it, right? And what is the best possible way that you can directly influence the life of the content creator that you're watching? Maybe hating, right? A content creator that you absolutely fucking despise. Me. By trying to ruin their life. Ban me like 5 years ago. I was being uncharitable and LSF turned it into a clip that got like 150K views. Nerds on Reddit messaged me for like a week over it, all over a misunderstanding. Yeah. This is a outrage manufacturing machine. And the reality is, like, a lot of those clips that actually go viral, because Stale is right, they do actually, the subreddit does have the capacity to influence Twitch decisions, right? LSF is the reason why I got banned for cracker, for saying cracker, because they fucking uploaded a bunch of clips over and over again to be like, this guy is the biggest racist of all time, all this stuff. And Twitch responded to that pressure. Didn't even think about how fucking stupid that might look to other adults in the real world, right? I got banned for 7 days for anti-white racism. And that was because of LSF, hummus tier list, all these other, like, all these people that have been banned because they put it on public freakout and the comments were wildly different, being like, what C word? That one? Lol, exactly. So in this like hyper isolated, insulated environment, right? They do have the capacity to change, you know, people's lives for at least a little bit, right? When Asman said that shit about CCOT, he did not get a single LSF post, not a word about it. Yeah. So that's part of the reason. Yeah, the Rick Scott clip also was on LSF as well. I used to think you were a Radlib bimbo before I started watching you, after which I realized you have great commentary, a lot of false framing out there. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. That's what it's for. For many people, they don't have the fucking time to actually, you know, browse through what people's commentary looks like. So they just lean into like whatever the crowd is saying. And if you can manipulate what the crowd is saying and thinking by brigading a subreddit like LSF, and then have a bunch of other YouTubers that like lean into whatever is going on said subreddit, then a lot of people's takeaway is going to be, oh yeah, this guy is a radlib, or this guy's reactionary, this guy's this guy's that. It's really funny because if you get involved in controversy, people hate for a minute, then it comes out half of them are just joking, 1/3 became fans, 1/3 never really cared, and 1/3 just wanted some drama, and then like 2 people become haters, but more people become fans or just don't really care about than anything. Yeah. I mean, even Kayagate, that one is the most like resilient one, right? They keep trying to farm that over and over again. And at this point, the only people who are still grabbing onto that desperately are people who are either pro-Israel, pro-pedophilia, or pro-Donald Trump. That's pretty much it.
Built an aimbot. Like, this whole thing is extremely sketchy to me. There's like no actual information on this website at all. It is just trash. And then their third listed partner, the VGS Robot Wars or whatever, that doesn't go anywhere. You can click the image, but nothing happens. So when it says coming soon, it literally means coming soon. One of their partners, they're still imagineering right now. They have the concept of a partner, but it doesn't actually exist. It's this whole thing. I truly don't know how anyone could be pitched this and just say like, oh yeah, I'll put my name on that. Now I ended up making an account, Gilman Tukis. I used 10-minute mail. I set up my account. And it seems like there's a lot of monetization here. So you can buy some emote packs, up to $5.50 worth of creator emote packs, which give you 10 entries into the competition. But they do explicitly make clear numerous times, no purchase is necessary to enter, but kind of nudging you a little bit to maybe make a couple purchases. But you can't legally require a payment. You can't legally require someone to buy something in order to enter into some shit like this. So that's there to cover their own ass in the eyes of the law, but they do very much try and incentivize you to spend money here for the $1 Million Fan Show. Going to their official rules, I thought for a brief moment I was going to learn more about the sponsor here, but it's talked so vaguely that it sounds like a Destiny 2 raid boss. The sponsor, $1 Million Fan Reality Show, Inc., referred to herein as $1 Million Fan or the sponsor, is a Canadian for-profit corporation operating as a technology and media company that organizes and promotes sweepstakes events. The sponsor operates sweepstakes and skill-based contest experiences and separately provides...
All right, so is this whole thing just a scam?
Who kind of just protect...
Like, he just talks about how this is a scam. Charlie unlocked the new armor slot. Nice bucket hat. How has Emily not lost all of her wealth to a phishing scam yet? He says he's in the bucket hat before I even processed it. So it's a scam, right? We know that already. We know that by the way that they tried to. To defend it, right? Cover their tracks. So a few hours later, website and all social media content, or social media for the contest were removed or closed without any notice. X.com, MDF reality show, Instagram page, TikTok page, YouTube page, all of that. Moist Critical has made a follow-up video calling it a scam all along, saying the streamers were probably under the impression that this was Amazon backed, but it turns out maybe it wasn't. Today, the head moderator of LSF was removed by the admins from the subreddit moderation team. Okay? Highlights of comments from the first thread: 20 million grand prize in using AI stock mansion. Shaking my head. Remove comments. How much is the mod team being paid for this collaboration? Hiding comments, calling this out for what it is. What? XQC? Why are you adding XQC? Why are you adding XQC in my chat, calling him pathetic for not being a speedrunning champion? It's the wrong chat, chatter. Anyway, this has to be a joke, right? So the sponsors just affiliate links with some supplements, a PC shop, and a subreddit. Where the fuck is the 20 million coming from again? Like, these are all the comments that were deleted, right? Did some digging on this and found a few things that seem worth noting. Legal documents appear to be copied from Omaze, the celebrity sweepstakes company that faced lawsuits and paused U.S. operations in 2023. It's 100% a scam. All of this was deleted. Yeah, XQC L Speedrunner. If he's watching right now. If you're watching and live reacting. So now we will watch. Oh yeah, here are the updates for the record. So, you know, all these people are calling out that it's a fucking scam, and of course the moderators are deleting it. Another thing that the moderators love deleting is whenever you call Destiny a pedophile, or if you say anything negative about Destiny, they love deleting those comments too, for the record. Many of the people in this community have probably been banned at one point or another for being like, hey, isn't this guy a pedophile? Or hey, didn't this guy procure CSAM? Yeah, I'm permabanned from LSF for talking about these sex crimes because the entire subreddit moderation team, under the guidance of this person that we're about to watch, okay, this person that is close friends and associates with Dan Saltman, Destiny's money machine, basically, a 60-year-old loser who owns Redact.dev. I think one of the last remaining sponsors of the Ethan Klein podcast. H3H3 podcast. Okay. Stale 2000, all username Tarot_card, has previously won streamer Destiny's DGGer of the Year award. He's close friends with both Destiny and Dan Saltman, coordinating to use the subreddit to push clips attacking enemies like a Piker while promoting Destiny. Anyone who talks about this issue without bringing this aspect up most likely doesn't know it, right? They most likely are unaware of it. But now you're aware of it. Okay? So without further ado, let's take a look at how he defended himself in this clip. A message to the Reddit CEO, Spez, from r/livestreams moderators, former top mod.
Spez, Mr. CEO of Reddit, I hope you have received this public video that I have created and sent to you via your email. If not, I hope anybody who cares about the topic in this video can get this to him in any way that you can. This video is about a topic of deadly seriousness, and that is of Reddit moderation and the state of your platform. But first, some background. I'm Brian, or Stale2000, or Tarot Card. I was the top moderator of your #1 gaming subreddit, r/livestreamfail, before I was recently removed from that position by the Reddit Code of Conduct team. I became a Reddit moderator for one reason, and that is because I think that Reddit communities and correspondingly its moderators have massive power and influence, and for some reason, nobody seems to notice, care, or take this seriously. Least of all, its moderators or the company. In this video, I will go over why I believe this, and I will also talk about a code of conduct moderation action that was taken against me due to good faith mistakes that I believe were caused by a clear lack of direct material support that the company gives its moderators. I will end the video by talking about what you, Spez, can do to fix this problem, as well as what I and other communities can do in case Reddit does not solve this very serious mismanagement problem regarding the lack of support that is given to moderators. First, I will go over the code of conduct action and why I was removed as the top moderator of r/livestreamfail. This sounds like stupid internet drama, I know, but I'm going to talk about how this is a very clear example about how Reddit's mistakes causes very serious problems to Reddit's community and the company as a whole.
I don't know why he just doesn't shave his head. I can't stop. I know this is not the main point, but like, brother, you're not fooling anybody. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you just shave it? It's fine. Let it go. Dude, I could change this motherfucker's life, okay? Shave the head, grow the beard. I'll put you on a fucking diet plan. I'll put you on a fitness plan. I swear to God, you will never make a 20-minute video like this ever again. Like, how do you How do you live like this? I don't understand. And it's not even the hair anymore. I'm just talking in general. Like, how do you get to a point in your life where you were working at Twitch and then you became a fucking prominent member of an online sex cult and then decided to become the top moderator of a very popular subreddit, fucking ruin it because, you know, you wanted to make your cult leader feel better about himself by attacking his fucking primary enemies, including, you know, myself, over and over and over again, fail spectacularly throughout the entire process, and then get so big for your own britches that you decide, oh, I can pull a fucking fast one and I can make some money on the side too. I mean, this is my shit. Lose your fucking moderator position, and instead of going, you know what? I have to change everything that led me to this place in my life. Instead of doing that, you fucking doubled down and made the least self-aware video that anyone has ever made. Oh my God, every skill check in your life leading up to this moment, you fucking failed. Like, really? You couldn't roll a nat 20 once? One time. I want to help him, man. I really do. I want to help you, brother. I want to help you. I know you feel like you've been a thorn in my side, but I do actually feel kind of bad. Yes, this guy can be a 7-2. Anyone can. I just don't get it.
What happened? There was an announcement related to a live stream related game show called $1 Million Fan. It was basically a game show like Survivor or Big Brother where fans of a streamer compete in different challenges with an influencer or a streamer for various prizes.
He was on top. I feel for him. The top mod put respect on it. He was on top. He made it to fucking the peak of Mount Everest, dude. He was commanding legions. He had influence. He didn't want to be an influencer. He wanted to influence the influencers. And he did, a puppet master. But then everything was taken from me. Everything was taken from me. Ah!
Prizes. The kicker here is that there was a grand prize of $20 million, supposedly. This was supposedly going to be aired on Amazon Prime, and it was also confirmed to be including a couple of mid-sized and large streamers like Alexandra and Andrea Botez, Extra Emily, Canute, and a few others. Additionally,
Hasan is an 8.5 in most places, but a 9 in some. And by that, I mean the gay community. Thank you, chatter. I don't know what the fuck this even means, but thank you, I guess.
The opportunity was supposedly brought to these streamers by a company called Mythic Talent, which is a well-respected streamer agency that represents hundreds of live streamers. I heard about the game show a few hours after it got announced by a couple major live streamers. It sounded like the perfect type of content for a live stream fail. I mean, reality TV, game show, live streaming, gaming, that's perfect for LSF, which is about fun, crazy content about kind of live streaming gamers.
Unperfect content about live streaming and gamers. Bro, touching grass, you have to inhale grass for the next week after this one. You need to shower after watching this.
So when I heard about this, I was very excited. I immediately reached out to the organizers to see if we could set up some sort of a collaboration.
I like that you can see his forehead from the motion smoothing filter that he put on himself, but like it still seeps through it, you know what I mean?
Immediately reached out to the organizers.
Why did he do this? Like, why? Like, these two things don't make sense, right? If you're going to go with that haircut, you can't also be aware of your looks to a certain degree that you were like using the fucking skin smoothing filter, right? Like, you're throwing me, you're fucking me up, dude. I just don't even understand. Like, what is it? Do you care about the way you look and the way you're presenting yourself, or do you not care about the way you look and the way you present yourself? I just don't understand. Throw me in for a loop. Is that the word? I don't even know. I've lost the capacity to speak the English language after watching this video.
Moderators being paid, basically none of anything like that. Just fun, cool stuff for.
He's baby maxing. He's Goo Gaga pilled. This is the respected agency he's talking about. OTK Streamers Asmongold tips out co-founder new management firm Mythic Talent. Yeah, Asmongold is a co-owner of Mythic Talent, by the way.
community in the subreddit. For collaborations, the first obvious thing that came to mind was how do we get their content on the subreddit? Either some superfans or some editors could clip some cool hype moment from the show and then post it to the subreddit. But I also had a stretch goal, and that was, what if LSF could be part of the show in some way? I don't know, there could be like a LSF themed best clip contest. Like contestants compete in one of the kind of small challenges, they make the best clip, and then somebody kind of wins a prize at the end. It was a stretch goal though. So I reached out to the organizers, and to my surprise, they immediately understood what LSF was, what power it had, and they even agreed to the stretch goal of like the cool competition to have in the actual show. From my perspective, this felt like one of the coolest things that a subreddit has ever done. I mean, being in a freaking reality TV show in a topic that's directly related.
They're calling him the least self-aware man. Not even in America, but like this is the equivalence of the guy who's like, I'm a 37-year-old who looks like a 17-year-old model. Like this is the Reddit version of that TikToker. You know what I'm talking about? You missed the filter glitching. Shut the okay, stop. You know what I'm talking about? You must have seen this dude I'm talking about. You need to see this dude I'm talking about, okay? Someone link it to me, please. I refuse to believe this is not satire. This is Tim Heidecker 2.0. No, this is like, this, chatter, I just gave you literally like the background for this reason because I knew that this was going to come across as insane, okay? See, there you go. 1 week after the Hasanabi diet program. Yeah, this guy. I'm 35, but looks like 17.
6, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Like that's Low Kirk. That's him. Like where the fuck did the video go? I lost it. I have so many goddamn tabs open. Okay. But yeah, there's a reason why I gave you all this background so you understand that like he is absolutely not joking. Like
to the
this
subreddit, how awesome. And then, you know, maybe I could leverage this to get even more opportunities either for our subreddit or for other subreddits across the entire platform. That's how I felt, at least.
He's like, I wasn't doing this just for me. I was doing this for all moderators out there. You gave me the sword and I was using it with honor. I was
and that's
wielding it with
clearly
honor.
not how it worked out. After they agreed to kind of a couple of these kind of requests that I had in my stretch goal, they immediately started moving very quickly. They, you know, we wrote up an announcement and they wanted this out within like 24 hours. So we quickly worked to make an announcement together and I posted it the next day. When I posted it, everybody in the comment section immediately yelled, scam, 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 scam. This initially didn't actually worry me because no matter what we do, people call it a scam. I mean, I've done AMAs with the Twitch CEO. People called that a scam. And I was also thinking like multiple major live streamers were involved. Mythic Talent was involved. Surely they had done their due diligence, right? Additionally, the thing that people were the most skeptical about was the $20 million grand prize. This initially confused me as well. But once I heard that, you know, Amazon Prime was allegedly involved, my initial concerns were assuaded. I mean, think about it. Amazon Prime has spent lots of money on tons of shows. And, you know, I didn't necessarily think that the show was worth $20 million, but, you know, that doesn't mean that Amazon Prime wouldn't fund it. And, you know, if LSF was involved, maybe it would actually succeed. You know, maybe my involvement alone could make the $20 million kind of investment worth it. Who knows? At least that's what I thought. Now here comes the next part of the story, when things get a little crazy. The next day, a major live streamer who was involved in the show, Extra Emily, said on her stream that she kind of saw all of these comments about people calling it a scam, and they even saw that, you know, LSF was involved, and this was apparently unacceptable to her, so much so that she was considering kind of dropping out of the show or kind of looking in to see.
My theory is that Reddit doesn't actually care about the scam. Shit like that gets promoted every day. They just wanted to get rid of a dude that's responsible for turning a major subreddit into a fucking brigading machine that's liable to lawsuits. Maybe this might have been what like pushed them over the edge, but the rest of his moderation team is still his guys. So it's not like the LSF subreddit is going to change its attitude. They might even make it seem like they have a variety of different content for a little bit, but like when the time comes, they'll still keep pushing it in the same exact way that they were. Because I need you to understand something, okay? A guy who is this crazy doesn't just fucking magically go away, and this kind of craziness doesn't happen overnight. This is like a byproduct of being in a fucking sex cult for an extended period of time, okay? So all of the other little loyal soldiers that he has at his disposal that are still operating the subreddit are also just as fucking insane. Like, there's no shot. There's no shot that these guys are going to go, all right, you know what? We're going to turn LSF back into what it was. We're just going to have like a diversity of different content. It's not going to be a fucking hate farm for whoever our favorite content creator Destiny's enemies are. It's not. There's no shot that it will stay the old LSF, even if it turned into like the old LSF for like 1 week. They're already banning any posts about the stale video. Nothing is changing. What? This is a totally separate fucking. Oh, thank you. They're doing a cleanup job for the old mod, even though they said that they were gonna, you know, take a new direction here. Yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening at all. I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Seeing if kind of the whole thing was a scam or not. After seeing this, I brought the concerns to the organizers, and the organizers told me that they were currently in talks with the agents to resolve this. And they told me in no uncertain terms that the show was not canceled and was still going on. So me being somebody who didn't really have a lot of, you know, information into the situation, and me, you know, trusting these high-powered agents who represent these multi-million-dollar kind of celebrities, I trusted that they would kind of get to the bottom of this and kind of resolve these concerns quickly. During this time period, I saw and deleted a lot of unsubstantiated claims about the show and the mod team. There were accusations that I knew to be untrue, such that, you know, the mod team had accepted bribes or, you know, had some sort of financial involvement with the show. And I knew that they were not true because I was the one who had this idea the entire time, you know, from start to finish. This happened a couple days. And what I can tell you, for those who, you know, may not believe that for most moderators, I'm a highly paid software engineer working in San Francisco. I do not need to take a couple $1,000 bribes from, you know, random internet scams, okay? I was doing this because I legitimately, you know, care about the subreddit, and that's why I spend my time on it. I thought it'd be kind of cool events for the sub. I'm talking about this in kind of the deleted comments because this is apparently some...
Bro, that is fucking... That makes it more... I don't even know if I believe that. That is the most unbelievable thing he said. This motherfucker has a fucking job in this economy? God damn. It's the most jobless... How do you have a job and just still have the most jobless thing that you're doing on the internet? How is that even possible? Mate Feed Art, thank you for the 100. Double 100 train, send it. Oh shit, double 100 train, thank you.
Big no-no in the Reddit TOS or something, or maybe it's like an unspoken rule where if you're involved in some sort of promotion and it ends up not working out or ends up being a scam or something, you know, if you have deleted comments that have accused it of being a scam, well that, you know, shows a cover-up or some way. It shows malice. Or
it does. What do you mean? Of course it shows malice. And this is not the only thing he's done this for. He's been doing this for years over Destiny. He's been doing this for fucking years. Anytime you say anything about Destiny that's like negative, if you talk about his like active court case, he would fucking yeet you into existence. Remember, this is r/live stream fail. Okay, obviously we don't place a lot of fucking, you know, we don't place a lot of emphasis or importance on random subreddits, but it's not r/destiny. You know what I mean? It's not like to the average onlooker, they just think it's just a live stream fail subreddit. Yeeted out of existence. Yes, sorry. Normal people go there and they don't think that the most online person, the weirdest person on the planet, is operating it for his own like personal sex cult. This is low-key kind of like Falun Gong. You know what I mean? When you watch Shen Yun and you're like, oh, how wonderful, 5,000 years of China. And then slowly but surely you find out, oh my God, it is literally a front for a psychotic cult that has a compound in like upstate New York. You know, this is kind of like that, where you're just scratch the surface a little bit. because of some utterly irrelevant, like ridiculous low-level scam that this guy tried to pull off. And then you look at it a little bit more and you're like, what the fuck was this? What is happening here? What have they been doing? Now, obviously, it doesn't really matter because it is, at the end of the day, it is like a low-level scheme to try and fail to disparage the reputation, tarnish the reputation of, like, you know, your favorite content creators, like biggest op or something. Like, who gives a shit, right? The reason why I get annoyed with it is because it has like political implications. As I've said over and over again, a lot of random people tune into this fucking subreddit. And if the only thing they're seeing is fuck Hassan and you're a normie, you eventually go, who's another content creator out there that's doing politics? And they arrive at Asmongold. And they slowly but surely become Asmongold pilled and become right-wing fucking demons on the internet. This is precisely what I was talking about for the past couple of years when these dumb fucks were actively coming after me, basically creating a void, creating a market for someone who was like, well, you know, everyone hates this guy. He must be bad. Let me go look for someone else. Okay, well, that someone else is Asmongold, especially because he was filling the need as a top political content creator. You create the market demand for fuck Hassan content, and he was fulfilling that market demand. And because I'm fucking left wing, of course, the person who is going to fulfill that market demand is going to be a right winger. What the fuck did you expect?
Damn, this guy's good.